emotions. Every new drop feels like the start of something. No one does it like this, we came to win. One more round, then we run it back again. We are Xbox, best brand in gaming. We are Xbox, set the whole world saying. Halo, Gears of War, they changed the game. Killer Instinct hits and we say the same. We are Xbox. We are Xbox. Hey. Halo on the screen, Master Chief in the ring. Gears hit heavy, chainsaw roar, let it sing. Killer Instinct strikes, cold, clean, fast. Every generation shows why this brand lasts. No one does it like this, we came to win. One more round, then we run it back again. We are Xbox, best brand in gaming. We are Xbox, set the whole world saying. Halo, Gears of War, they changed the game. Killer Instinct hits and we say the same. We are Xbox. We are Xbox. Forza making great moves. Fast lane, new shine. Fable got that magic, and it's all doing fine. Big worlds, bold dreams, that's the way they play. Every time they move, they make the whole scene sway. We are Xbox, best brand in gaming. We are Xbox, louder than the trading. Halo, Gears of War, they changed the game. Killer Instinct hits and we say the same. We are Xbox. We are Xbox. Forza making great moves. Fable's great too. We are Xbox. That's what we do.
Oh my goodness, we're live, and let me hit record so I don't miss any of this footage. What is going on, everyone? This is episode 2 to if I can speak tonight. This is episode 2 of We Are Xbox, the podcast. So here we are. I guess I'm your host, Perry,
And I'm Frank.
and there is Xbox Man.
Yeah!
There he is, the one and only Noof Nukem.
Boom, boom, kaboom, baby! Noof Nukem is in the room.
And we have Timdog.
What's up?
What's going on?
I hear you in the background.
Uh-oh.
What? Okay.
You hear an echo?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear the show. Let me see. Yeah, I hear it playing in reverse. You guys hear that?
No.
I don't hear you. Frank, you want to check? Do you want to check the stream, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure.
Maybe I have it up.
Yeah.
Let me just
Chat
see
room?
something.
And I got no audio playing back here, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Let me
Chat.
see, maybe
stream
it was.
is
In,
okay.
oh, I had it up. You know, I had it. I was in the room.
Okay.
In the.
Oh, he clicked the link and he was in there. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a hell of a week for Xbox. Isn't this funny though, guys? When I'm on YouTube, I'm a Sony pony, but when I'm on Twitter now, I'm an Xbox. Figure this out.
Can't win.
I get yelled at on both ends for both things, and I own both machines. I'm wailing it out over here. Just saying. All right, Frank. So you talked about this on Wednesday, but let's bring it up now that Tim is here and that Noof
Yeah.
is here. What's
They
going on with these
released the
numbers?
financials.
Oh yeah, it looks like Sarah Bond almost completed her mission over here.
Pretty bad.
I mean, this was expected, but this is still not good, and this is something they're going to need to address, obviously. So yeah, I don't know, Tim, if you want to go into that about the hardware sales.
Yeah, well, the hardware sales collectively since 4 games have been down 253%. Communal, if you go by each quarter, this latest was down. I'm going to pick up the numbers right now. Was really what the hardware was very alarming, but what was also alarming was 7%.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling it up right now. I got like so many things. It's crazy how many tweets I go through. Okay, so I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna go through all of them. The last time they've had it, they were green. They were 3%, and that was the last time that they had exclusives. In 24 quarter three, that was the first quarter with going multi-plat, 4 games, going crazy. It went down 31%. That's a huge hit. That's year over year from 2023. Then they went. Oh, I just lost it. This is annoying me right now. 1 second. So the next month they went down 42%. All right, that's huge. So that's really bad. And then 25 quarter one, 29%, 25 quarter two, which was a year after they actually had in the green, they were down 29%. Then 25 quarter three, which is now year over year after being down 31%, they were down 6%. So that's alarming too, because now you're going over really bad year over years. So think about it in a way like you're going off of a bad, you're going off of a low floor to begin with. So then 25 quarter four, 22%. Again, a low floor, and you're still going down 22% off of the low number. Then you're down 26 quarter one, 29%, 26 quarter two. Now you're back again off of low numbers, down 32%. Very bad. 26 quarter three. Now, again, like I explained, I know it's a little confusing, but you're going off of low numbers year after year and again year after year. So this is 2 years, 33%. That was the last quarter. Overall, if you add all those downs, you're down 253%. So basically, you created your whole entire hardware business, and you didn't have to do that.
Oh,
So their move to multi-plat totally collapsed their hardware, because they could have, they were down, and you're going to expect going down in some aspects, but you're going to go down in some aspects, but to go down this amount of numbers and then to be I can never say the word, but to have it all year over year over year over year like that is very bad. So the upcoming quarter, and they were down 7%, which means that you figure if that you could say, well, the hardware is getting fixed with the overall revenue, and they had, if you remember, um, they had Starfield,
right.
so they were down 7%. So that's collectively saying that Sarah's failed,
Yeah.
and they're in a real bad position now. As I pointed out, the next quarter, I think they have a chance to go green, because the number is already low. Yes, Penny's here. Um, the number's already low. All right. So if they have sales that we're going to talk about, they can get this to green. Now their revenue is going to be down, so they have to try to sell this some way. So I think that they might make a push for hardware, and we might see. We talked about pre-show about the sale. I mean the sale that they had, which is $6.99 with a controller and the game. Plus, there was a little bit of a tidbit. There's some discrepancy if that's the regular price is $4.99. Now, sometimes I've seen it where they do come out and it's the regular price. They get a price cut. And finally, I'll just say Sony's always done this when they have big games or they have areas where they're trying to upsell their console. They have these deals and they make it very attractive. If Xbox, the way it's looking right now, where it seems to have a little bit of a big positive buzz online, they can go $4.99 and sell that and market a little, and they can get this in the green. And that's a big write off. But if they're down again, and they're projected to be down again, Amy Hood has already said that on the forecast. That's not good. That's really
no.
bad.
Right.
So that's the state of the union right now with the hardware
Yeah.
numbers to go into them.
Yeah, it's not rocket science. They got to take what hardware remains in the pipeline, and they have to try to rebuild faith, not only with the hardcore fans, but again to draw new fans in. A price drop would be amazing, especially considering in the day and age we are at right now, right? Everything seems to have been skyrocketing through the roof. The price drop on Game Pass was a good start. I mean, it's just a start, but at least they were, they recognized some of the follies of their ways and dropped it down. I challenge others to follow suit. Maybe it gets lower, maybe they retier the darn thing. But regardless, like I said, they got to move units. Moving units helps move software. Moving software and units helps also move third-party software. Like, again, it's not rocket science. When you bring people into your ecosystem, into your store, there's a good chance they're going to spend money in your store. So hopefully, they make up some of the downfall with more software sales, by getting these things out. And I don't know how you guys feel about the Series S. I've said that I think at this point, I think what you want to do is, you sell what you have remaining in the pipeline, and yes, the developers will still be obligated, I guess, to go out and port games to the Series S. But I would put all your eggs in the Series X basket at this point.
Yeah.
I know, especially with the disc drive and the digital editions, but get those out there, build up some faith with the fans, bring back the hype and everything around the brand while the going is hot, while the going is good right now. And like you said, the impressions are there, the hype is there. They got a showcase coming up soon. People, they're bringing back the Fan Fest. People seem to be engaged again, which is great.
Yes.
And finally, it's a bit of a more of a positive vibe as opposed to the last probably 2 years where a lot of us fans, myself included, have kind of really felt negative and down on the Xbox brand, and rightfully so. We've invested so much in Xbox to have them turn around and basically reward the PlayStation faithful. It's console warring stuff for absolutely. And you know what? I'm not even going to sit here and say, that isn't part of the equation. But you know what console warring stems from? It stems from passionate fans. Some of it gets a bit silly. We get that. Some of it gets a little bit I understand why some people hate it, but console warring is no different than sports fans, arguing and yakking about their teams all the time. People do it in everything. People argue about vehicles. People argue about burger joints. So what is the difference if you're a little bit more passionate about the Xbox or the PlayStation, and you kind of, you take a little friendly shot at someone here and there, my shit's a little better than yours and all this kind of stuff. Sometimes, facts are just facts, but, part of it, again, like I said, it stems from passionate fans like the ones here on this panel who have been with the system and been with these companies for a long time, have spent thousands upon thousands. And I'm on the small end of the spectrum, right? What I've spent is nowhere close, I'm pretty sure, to what you other three gentlemen have spent on Xbox. But I've still spent quite a bit. I've spent more than I would say, probably what you call 80% of the average fans who spend money on stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said, I got the Lite. You're looking at this stuff. They get money for this stuff, right? Here's an Xbox Lite. They're getting $1 for selling that stuff. It's not, I got an Xbox mug here. Yada yada yada.
I got two of the V1 fridges sealed downstairs, and I have the Series S toaster sealed downstairs. Just to let you know, sir.
it's all this stuff. Like it's all this stuff, and it's a ton of games. And you know where like I said, in the last like I said year and a half, 2 years, what you know, I didn't have the PlayStation 5 day one. I had the Series X on day one. I had it on the launch day. And I was buying almost everything for Xbox. The only thing I was buying on PlayStation was some of their, guess what? Exclusives.
Yeah,
which is
me
why
too.
I bought a PlayStation, right? For their exclusives, which you could not get anywhere other than PlayStation, right? Come on, common sense. But at least I'm a fan to the point that I love gaming so much. I wouldn't like, oh, I will never buy a PlayStation because that's just blasphemy, you know? No, if it's a good game, it's a good game, and I'll play it wherever it is. It doesn't really bother me. I got to go out and buy another piece of hardware to pay someone's exclusive games. And it shouldn't bother a PlayStation fan to go buy an Xbox if they want to play, say, Gears of War.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. And like, I don't know where the message changed. Well, all of a sudden I had to be kumbaya. Well, kumbaya started again. To sum it all up, Game Pass. I'm going to go right back to that because Game Pass changed the direction of the company. It changed how they wanted to deliver their product. And there in turn, that when it didn't become ultra successful and they didn't see the dollars rolling in hand over fist, they're like, oh, well, we got to figure out another way to get our software into the hands of people. So we might as well just put if people buying the console. Well, sure, they're not going to buy a console. You're going to, one, take the exclusives off the damn thing. And two, then you're going to do advertising that tells your own fan base that you don't need an Xbox to play an Xbox game. You can play on your phone. You can play on your mother's, you know, or your granny's panties, whatever the fuck it might be. Like, it got fucking stupid, right? Pardon my French, right? But like, this is where we went, and it's not hard to see why crap went down the damn hill, right? It's not hard to see why. But then you had again, and this is where the message gets construed, because you got fans like us who got called out for being real, and well, we're just haters. And we don't know what we're talking about, and blah, 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 blah. And then you have the other side, the guys who claim that they're these huge Xbox fans that just, you know, they put butter on Xbox nuts. You know what I mean? That's what they did. They buttered their friggin' nuts. They never called them out on anything. It was kumbaya the whole way. Phil Canoe no wrong. Sarah Bomb was just too pretty to be stupid. You know what I mean? So it was a conundrum of friggin' everything all at one time, right? And now we finally got this lady comes in who at first we were kind of like, oh no, this could be the worst thing ever. And all of a sudden everything is changing. The messaging is changing, the look of the company, the whole everything's changing. And it's changing, at least to this point, for the better. And we're starting to speak positively again. And we're all like, yeah, of course we are, because they're starting to say stuff that makes sense.
That's
to
what
an
we
Xbox
wanted
fan.
all these years. We wanted them to wake up already and get it done.
Stop talking to the Fortnite crowd. Stop aiming for that. Those games will sell on their own. You know what I mean? But you got to take care of the people that take care of you first, and that's where they went wrong. Is they spit in the face of the people that made this brand what it is, the people that elevated Gears of War to a multi-million-dollar franchise.
Yeah,
this is where we're at. This is where we're at. Take care of us, we will take care of you. It is that simple.
very well said. Very well said. And you really you have a way of talking. I mean, I'm more of like I could explain it, but I get very pissed off. Like I want to curse and I want to throw things. And,
You should.
But the reality is that I think that you really simply put it. It's something where there's something like there's a connection where you know it should go two ways, and that's what I said pre-show. Like I don't think that we should be so open to always being like we're always like, well, like we look at it like we're thinking of their financials. At this point, no, they did Indiana Jones, which was a slap in the face. They lied to us about 4 games, which is a slap in the face.
Yep.
The worst thing that they ever did, and it still pisses me off, is that they had Gerard wear a PS5 shirt for Halo. I mean,
Yep.
that's at the point where I feel like it's a humiliation ritual, and there's no defending that. And I think that with this new beginning, it does have promise. It does have some promising aspects, but we always have to stay grounded to realize that they might not do what we want.
Yep.
And that's it. It's like for me, if they really show that this is just the same old, the same old thing started with. I would say I agree. Game Pass was the big change, and that was because I've went into this because Phil was just trying to be creative, but he again had a short term solution that listen, any subscription service you start, you're going to get massive influx because people like going to buy in and they're going to say, okay, when you start at zero, you're going to get a massive influx. That road, uh, and COVID exploded it, but it hit its ceiling, and then that was when this all started to hit the shit at the fan. But the reality is that they gotta treat us good, and if they don't, fundamentally, you can't. Nobody can trust it. Believe it or not, people like you'd be surprised when guys like when people like us are just like, we're getting PlayStation. That's the end of them because people like they look at me and I can speak for myself and they're like they've always looked at me and they said, "Oh, Timmy's the crazy Xbox guy that defended them and has been so loyal to them and this and that." And then when he says like go to PlayStation, well, guess what? There's something wrong. Like so I'm really being open to them and giving them a shot. And so far they've been very good. But we're realistically we're 2 months, 2.5 months in. And I'm doing all I can do that can get everyone on this panel and every one of the Xbox fans that I know are true Xbox fans respected. And in my way, that's not saying all exclusives. I get that, but they have to. I think Gears is a perfect game for them. Like if they put a PS5 logo up there, which I don't think that they will, but if they do, that's my signal. And it's like somebody said, well, what are you going to choose, Tim? I said, Xbox is going to make the choice for them. And that's why I'm setting this up the way I'm doing with the emails. And thank you, Noof, and every Frank. I know yours is coming, and Perry, yours is excellent. I got to read it still. I got like 10 emails to read
Nice.
and review. And every one of them is going to be read. I can promise you guys that their eyes. I'm going to let Aaron know that this is coming. I'm going to get the address and I'm going to send 4 copies to 4 executives.
Let him know.
Um,
I could have written a book, but I had to try to keep it a little bit short. So I kind of like sped up through part of it. Like I said, we don't need to go over the things that Xbox did right because I think we're quite aware of where they went right. It's trying to pinpoint the errors where they went downhill, and that's what I tried to highlight toward the end of my letter. Is just like these are the areas where I think you dropped the ball. These are the areas that you can bring back. And you're absolutely right, Tim. Like, look, all exclusives, everything's not going to be exclusive. I mean, as an Xbox fan, sure, some of us could sit here and say, man, it would be cool if every single game that was in the repertoire was exclusive moving forward. But like that is a little bit of a disservice too, considering a lot of the companies they've acquired have been notoriously third-party companies and have published elsewhere. So I get it, but I definitely think that they should pick and choose what to put exclusively, at least timed exclusivity. Give the PlayStation fans a taste of their own medicine. Now, maybe some of them are patient enough to wait a year and pick up those games. Like, how many years did we wait for Final Fantasy VII remake to come out? Remember, it was
God.
even showing off at the Xbox showcase. Which talk about another slap in the face. You unveil it at the Xbox showcase. What was this back
Yep.
in 2016, 2017 or something like that?
Yep.
And then you bring it out, and then it comes out on the PlayStation, and it's nowhere to be seen for Xbox until 2025. We got the game finally. Unbelievable, right? Come on. I mean, I know that's
Crazy.
that's Square Enix, but something fell apart somewhere. And how the hell you can have a deal in place and have that shown off on stage to get people excited for finally getting a Final Fantasy game on Xbox, one that everybody really wanted anyway. And then it's nowhere to be found because what? Sony threw a boatload of cash at these guys and said, screw Xbox. Like, I don't know. Like, I honestly, be Xbox, be bold, be brash, and be brazen, and give them a taste of their own medicine. Now is the perfect time to do it too, because Sony got literally dick squat coming out from their own camp, right? And apparently, Saros is not selling that freaking well again. So there you
no
go.
buzz for that game.
No buzz, no, hardly anybody
There's
playing it.
I didn't touch it.
Right?
no, but I don't listen. You guys know that I follow the numbers and I follow community, a lot of it, and I have a good feel, and I've done that, and I have to say, even on my other platforms, what I do, Like that's what I specialize in. I like to look at those things. That's what interests me, trends and stuff like that. I have to say, there's nobody really the game reviewed well, but I'm interested to see the numbers on Saros. I'm gonna suspect that they're not great. But I could be wrong. But I can tell you, it
Well,
seems muted.
I think a lot of people
Definitely.
went out and bought Returnal because of the hype, and then a lot of people played it. I would love to see the finish rate on Returnal. I bet you it's pretty low. People went out and bought it, didn't finish it, didn't play it, and they're like, "Yeah, Saros is more of the same. Thank you very much."
I
You
bought
know?
it and didn't
Right.
finish it. That was $70 on the toilet. I don't even know if Frank. I bought Frank a copy. I don't know if he finished it.
I played
And
about
that's what it
4
is.
hours.
unfortunately,
That was it.
economy wise too, to tie in that, it's not really a good time of year traditionally
Mhm.
to release, and also with gas being what it is, we're
Oh
not going to
yeah.
go into that, but just sometimes when you have extra money, they do
Mhm.
have, maybe they could say that they got your tax returns, I guess you could say, but it does definitely seem muted, and I will be following up on that. Like I don't hate. Listen, you guys gotta understand the new Tim, this Tim doesn't. I don't really care about PlayStation. I have to say, after playing it, I enjoyed it. I know how fanatical the fans are, and they'll never change, and that's fine. But PlayStation does well. Like it does it well.
Yeah.
It's a good package. It's premium. It feels premium.
Mhm.
The controller is the best controller. I want Xbox to do that. They have to get that, whatever the dual sense and all that stuff that it has, the powerful vibration. I have to say, the way it intertwines with the UI, very impressive. But Xbox can nail that easy. They just need to, that's another thing that they could have a little momentum, is they're going to have a new controller, and I believe when it comes out, it will be the best controller, because I like the stick layout, and I think
Yeah.
Xbox is going to nail it. But um, I have to say, PlayStation. I'm not a PlayStation hater anymore. I was, but I can honestly say I have a lot of respect for what they do. They do a good job, but the reality is that if I see something like Saros being muted, which it seems to be, and I suspect that I'm saying right now the numbers are not. Well, if we don't hear no, usually when games sell well, you'll hear it in a week. You'll be like, okay, we get an official PR. Games that you don't hear for over a month, or if you get like Marathon gave us 2 million players, that's not good. Like that's where put it this way: when it's obvious when a game does well, and it's also obvious when a game does lukewarm, and it's also even more obvious when a game bombs. I don't think Saros bombed, but I think the genre, which is a roguelike game, right? That it's not really a, I watched some of it. It looks pretty good. Looks good, but is it going to make me run to and get a
Yeah.
PlayStation? No. You know.
Speaking of bombs, how about Killing?
Oh man.
Like 500 players on Steam or something, and it's going downhill already.
I think it
Oh,
peaked
man.
under 200 players, but I
Oh
mean,
my god.
I don't know what they expected with that. It didn't look like it was gonna,
Oh,
move mountains or anything.
perfect example of why Game Pass exists for games like that, because nobody's going out and spending 40, $50 on that thing.
Yeah, but you know how much money that studio spent making that game? And they're not going to see any of that money back.
That's
Well,
a prime example of them just needing content for Game
Yeah.
Pass, and that's where they went wrong, is when they
Oh,
decided that
Quinn. Oh, is
Kiln.
that what you said?
Clint,
Oh,
Clint,
God, yeah.
Kiln, whatever it
What
is.
the
Yeah,
hell are they
pottery
thinking
pottery
about?
game.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
Hey,
The
they're
hat
so
thing.
focused on content for Game Pass and not the
Like,
good stuff, that's the problem. And
How
I
about
think
make how about make Psychonauts 3? Like that's a
yeah,
thing.
right?
Like the same thing with Marathon. Stupid. Like make Destiny 3.
Or how about
Yep.
how about with all the properties we got, somebody actually makes a Xbox kart game with all of the freaking characters, like somebody
Yeah.
posted the other day. That would be prime for Game Pass. You make one awesome game, make it really freaking good. Get the team that made Crash Nitro Kart to make it, for freak's sake, because that was a pretty cool game.
Right.
Go make it, put Marcus Phoenix and all those characters in there, and Senua and Conquer and Banjo Kazooie, the whole
How
nine
about
yards.
make,
You know,
how
like
about
40
make
or 50.
Conquer? But just
Right?
seriously, how about just make
Yeah.
Conquer? I
Make
agree
Conquer.
100%. How about just say listen, guys, listen. I listen. I was a listen. I remember telling Phil and having those conversations, and I bring up Phil a lot because there's a lot of conversations I had with Phil. I used to game with him every single week, like Friday on the dot, sometimes Saturday. When he went to Hawaii, I would play with him. He would always have certain sections of times that I knew he would
Hmm.
play, but I would play all week with him when he was in Hawaii or when he went away. So it was like every year. So the only times with downtimes was when we went to China or whatever. There was a time there when he was in UK for the CMA stuff. But the bottom line was that Phil, because Xbox had a reputation of telling studios what to do, to demand to do what they did, to do it. I'm sorry, a little punchy. They were told what to do. One of the most famous one was Rare with Connect Sports 2, and Connect Sports. They didn't want to make Connect Sports, but they were told, and they were told that they were the studios. They would always be told studios to death or whatever. They told uh, the Fable team to make a multiplayer game. They didn't want to make a Fable Legends was a forced game. So Phil, when he got all these studios, he had the idea of their existing studios. I'm going to be hands off, and unfortunately, when you're hands off, the reality is that
Yeah.
these studios, and this is a little bit of a touchy subject, but they do work better when they have like a hard line where there's a pressure on them because they realize they have to do things. When you say, "Hey, just do what you can," people take advantage.
Yep.
So it's a fine line. Yeah, has there been abusive situations and unrealistic expectations and horrible things?
Mhm.
100%. But unfortunately, the reason why they do those things is because they get the results. So Xbox had this like lazy, lax oversight of these studios, and it sure did show. And they also gave them free reign. The game that Redfall, they could have canceled, but he let them work on it. The passion project of um, Ninja Theory, what was that game? It was horrible. Well, Bleeding Edge.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Mhm.
they were said, okay, it's a passion project. You could do that. Unfortunately, I'm Rare. I remember sitting at the table and Matty plays, and to my right, Boom asked the question, "What about Banjo?" And he said that, Phil answered that uh, you know, they were asked about it, and they said they don't want to do it. So the reality is that, in my opinion, the new management and Matt had sucked at his job. Let's be honest. I think he got his job because he's more of a console exclusive guy. I think that his I don't know what happened there, but he should have been fired if I'm being honest. But because he hasn't done a good job. But the reality is, hey, Rare, you're making Banjo and you're doing it in 3 years. Hey,
Mhm.
Double Fine, Tim, did a great job. Psychonauts 3 or Conquer, pick one. That's what they got to do. And they have so many IPs that they can work on,
Yeah.
and
Brutal
they can
Legend.
make
We've been
great
saying that.
games. StarCraft, you gotta Clint. What the hell? What the hell is Clint? And what was that other stupid game with you're running around and it's like you have a topple on your head? I don't even know the last
Oh
Yeah.
name.
yeah, yeah.
The
That
What the
the
hell was
lighthouse.
lighthouse the
that?
lighthouse game.
Come
Yeah.
on, yeah, Lighthouse game. Yeah,
See,
nobody
they
ever
don't
heard of
they
it.
don't they don't
What
care
the
because they're
hell?
playing with Microsoft's money. It's not their own money. They don't care. They want to do something,
Yeah.
and nobody's being hard on them. Like you said, nobody's telling them what to do, and they're doing whatever they want. And they're so big that they can't be at every studio all the time. Although they have enough money, they should hire somebody to go down there and say, hey, this is going to fly. This ain't going to fly. I feel like by the time Phil would go down there, they're 2-3 years into development and the game's a piece of crap. And they're like, well, you might as well finish it. Like there
Yeah.
was no quality control because they're
True.
so focused on subscriptions and Game Pass and content just so they could
Yep.
say at the end of the showcase, we got 115 games coming to Game Pass this year.
And we
Yeah,
don't know
but
any
100
of their
them
fucking
suck.
names.
Yeah. It's like
You
that's the
know,
problem.
that's bad. Yeah, but a great point. But yeah, they do. Listen, and this is the problem that they had with Scalebound. All right, so Scalebound, they gave them a boatload of money, and this is the story with Scalebound. They had a maniac director. I forgot his name. He was blocking Phil on Twitter. And
Jeez.
what was his name? You guys remember the guy that was
I
dubbed to the?
I
He's a maniac.
I know he's
He was
bald and
very
has
vocal.
glasses like me, kind of. But
Yeah, yeah. So he blocked Phil. Listen to this story. He blocked
Mizuguchi or
Phil.
something, wasn't
Yeah. So he blocked Phil on
it?
Twitter,
Mhm.
and he also insulted Xbox, saying that they were putting him up as a prop. He was a complete malcontent. He was working on another game using Xbox's money, and they did not. They were way behind. I remember talking to somebody who said they saw. I'm not going to name the person. They saw Scalebound, and they saw it in a play state, and they said it was running 15 frames per second. They said it looked insanely rough. Okay, and that was somebody with that had inside knowledge of the game. So what happened was is that because they're in Japan, they had zero oversight. People were if you guys remember, I don't know if you remember this, but this is all true. People were actually calling in sick, saying that they were stressed and they had no pressure, they had so much pressure, but they actually were working on another game to hit, and that other game hit its milestones, and it released on time. And Scalebound was years behind. Now, if you remember Quantum Break asked for another year. They said we need another year in development. They wanted another delay. They wanted to add these creatures in the game. They wanted to flesh out the game. Maybe make the ending better. If you remember, the ending was very sudden and it sucked. So Phil was pissed because they were a relatively small team, and he's like, "I gave you a boatload of money, and you're still not hitting deadlines. We already had a delay." And he basically said, "You have to hit your deadline." And Phil would put his foot down with stuff like that, um, and he had no oversight of Scalebound. It failed. Very little oversight of Fable Legends. So now, so Phil handled that horribly. But now, in Phil's defense, the last, studios, and Frank, you said it. You're right. There's so many studios, they don't have enough people. You're gonna have a guy flying around the country, going here and there and there. Maybe hire somebody again. I don't know what you got to do, but you need. It's like anything else. If you don't have a boss there in a workplace, guess what happens? Everyone
Mhm.
comes in
Yeah.
30 minutes late.
yeah.
Everyone takes an hour and 15-minute lunch. Sometimes they take 2-hour lunches and sit in
Well,
the bottom line is that people work when they have a little bit
you're
of oversight and fear.
you're 100% right. Anybody ever go to school and remember when the substitute teacher came in? Remember how the productivity just dropped? Yeah, so you know what I'm
100%.
talking about, right?
Yeah.
You went
Yeah.
to school when your main teacher was there, especially the strict teachers. You knew who you could get away with and stuff you couldn't, you know?
Oh yeah,
So you
all
had
the
that
time.
strict teacher in, you got your homework done, you made sure your assignments were rolling because they were calling you out. Then all of a sudden the old substitute teacher comes in and there's, well, I got to put this out for you today. And everybody just kind of goofballs, or the next thing you know, you're pulling out the VCR and you're watching a movie in class or some kind of crap. I suspect that's the case with a lot of these studios. Again, just there's no eyes on, there's nobody cracking the whip. And again, they're afraid to crack the whip because of the media started making out all this crunch time, and people were having, life issues. They couldn't have
Very
four
true.
lattes, and they couldn't have four lattes today, and they didn't get 15, 20 washroom breaks, and and you had to acknowledge your fucking pronouns and shit before they could get anything
100,
done.
and they were all about that.
Fuck.
And
Man.
This is
100%.
this is where the shit's going. It doesn't. I mean, look at the old fucking regime. Look at a lot of the guys who were building games back in the day. I'm sorry, but they look like us. A lot of them were fucking fat, bald, and fucking and look like guys who designed games. And now you got them, and they look like a fucking bunch of hippies that the fucking rejects. They look like they were born from sloth from the Goonies. Having these people.
And it's very true, though. It's very true, but you just pointed something that. You just painted a picture that's it's the absolute truth, and it was unfortunately there was something against middle-aged people that look like what they look like before. Basically, they were basically not hired, or they were let go because of the way they looked, not in the aspect because they look like the Goonies guy, but because they wanted diversity. They wanted DEI because they had certain they had actual bonuses built in. The government was also giving them money to hire people that were of diverse gender and all that. But they forgot about the guy that actually did the work for 10 years before. And that was what pissed me off too. And I came out about that stuff, and it pissed me off. Like let's look at Larry. Like Larry's a typical example. And there's no doubt in my mind they let Larry go because of ageism, and because he was old, and they said he wasn't resonating with the crowd. No, maybe because you guys suck, and you're just all over the place, and you can't oversight your studios, and you're just picking and choosing, and yeah, you're gonna take the nice, easy guy, the nice guy who's been. I mean, listen, when you lose your way with Larry, you lose your way with Xbox, because we could have made fun of him. Yeah, he put his white gloves on, and there was something, but Larry, listen. I remember talking to
Carry
Larry.
a lot of respect, man.
I love Larry, but he was like, you hear his voice, you think of Xbox. So I hope they get him back. And I just like about the studio stuff. I don't want to go down a political thing here, but the reality is that there was a political thing that went on, and that's all. I think they're a more of meritocracy type company now. I think corporate America in general is that way.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the Biden administration and all that, that stuff was put up as a premium, and they were actually giving money to subsidize it. So you can't listen when you bring in that stuff with video games. Like not you could have four lattes, and you can't yell at a person because they suck. You know what I mean? Like or like you said, I suck. Like when it comes out, the games suffer.
Yeah.
Again, and you look at Halo
And
and
the
the way
teams
that
are so
was shown
big.
off.
The teams are so big, and I was going to ask you, Tim, like let's take the Bonnie Ross scenario, right? She was obviously given a massive task with Halo. Now, Bonnie Ross had been a part of Halo for a long time, long before she was, sort of put in charge of it. So, what do you think happened there overall? Was the ambition just too big for her britches, so to speak? Because it didn't seem like Bonnie didn't care for the franchise or wasn't passionate about it, but it just felt like something fell along the wayside. Whether she just lost the room or maybe her, there were so many changes with Halo Infinite that maybe her passion for it just dropped off along the way. I don't know. Like, it's kind of curious to know what happened there, because so many big names were behind Halo Infinite that kind of all just they all kind of just one after another. And then they brought Joseph Staten back in, and they brought this guy back in, and then they left right after. It was like you were like, what is this, the project from hell here with Halo Infinite? Because so many big names kept leaving.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
I'll say this real quick, Tim. And you don't have to answer any of this, but this is just from the outside looking in, what I always thought. It seemed like at Xbox, it was the Millionaires Club. Like, hey, let's get our friends in position so they can make a few bucks. and if a game comes out, it comes out. That's what it felt like to me. But again, I don't work there, so I don't know anything.
Well, I can tell you, I do know some of the story about Halo. For about for about a year, they were discussing how they wanted to go, and one of the persons, Mike, was basically fired. And I don't really care. Tell this, I've said this a couple times to the Lawrence face, but Mike, and to Mike's respect, Mike's annoying sometimes to me, and I'll tell him that to his face. But Mike, to his respect, is he's not one of these people that like is going to put up with bullshit. And he called out Bonnie in front of a room, and it became a thing where he was like anti, whatever. Like
Mhm.
he basically called her out, and he was the only one that would, and everyone thought it, but he was saying it,
Mhm.
and that basically got him fired the first time. So I remember Mike telling me once. He goes to me. He goes, "They're effing up Halo, like 2017." And he said, when he said that, I said, he goes, "Well, I don't like the direction. They were all up in the air." Now, if you remember, there were two creative directors that got let go. It was wild. For the fact that Staten came in, he kind. I liked Halo Infinite, but it could have been so much more with the time that they had. But yeah, it was bad management once again, and with Bonnie, you have to understand something. Bonnie and Phil started together, or like they were very close, and they were very, lock and step. Like they were buddies. They started. He wanted her to do well, and Bonnie, I like Bonnie, but
Mhm.
you know, she didn't deliver, and it was known, and she got fired in the end. But Mike, because he was the realest guy in the room, got let go, and
Mhm.
it was, because he yelled at somebody, and then that's the type of problem that Microsoft had. Okay, I'm putting that in past tense now. I'm not as close as I was back then because I was talking to Phil and talking to other people. Like I don't talk to people now. I know not to ask certain questions, nor do I seek it out. I used to seek it out. I used to send, text messages, emails, whatever, be like, "Hey, what's up?" And I would fish all the time, every day. Um, but I haven't done that. A lot of times that I get my information now, somebody will hit me up, or I get a random text, and I'm like, "Oh, why is this guy doing it?" And I know it's something because the guys still are interested in what I say because I'm, as you can see, very blunt about it, and I'm not afraid to say the truth, and I know the history, and this is part of my life. I did this every day. I was in the trenches, as Phil used to say, with every little bit of news, every little bit of future possibilities. But they unfortunately had a major problem with that, and I do think that they've looked to fix that. But again, you need real management. You need real moments where you tell people that they need to get their asses in check, and you need, State of Decay, that guy David Strife,
Mhm.
a lot of problems there. That game, I don't even think it's close. I don't think that game's close. 7 years.
Mhm.
They showed the CGI game. That game is not even close. Now they're saying it's going to be AAA. They did the same thing with State of Decay 2. It wasn't. Um, you look at these all these games and stuff like that. There's so many issues, and they got to fix that. They do have the talent. Again, I think it's more of an upper management, or was an upper management problem, where they just weren't real about things. It's like when
Yeah.
you do a job and you have to do it a certain way, and you're not doing it, and then you don't have a boss to tell you that you're not doing it right, you're just going to just do it, get by. And I just feel like they've been just getting by. I mean, I remember the story about Yoshida. He looked at God of War, he watched it, and he walked out of the room and said it sucks, and he says, you better get this fixed. um and that type of leadership permeates, or it sets in. Look
Hmm.
at how God of
Yeah.
War came out, and it's a game that Yoshida literally said, and I'll show you guys. We should actually have a group text we should do for information, but that actually happened. But the point is that when that happened at Xbox, guys got fired. So now think of the optics of that. The one guy that said something that was true got fired, and it was a whole thing.
Right.
Now, when you have that type of atmosphere or that type of element at work, everyone's going to be scared and everyone's just going to get by. Nobody's going to say anything. And then you're going to have a problem. And then it's going to start to show when the games are not releasing on time. They're going to show in the state of Redfall. I mean, Redfall, Starfield. I mean, listen, Starfield, I like Starfield and everything, but guys, Sony always gets it done with 60 frames per second. You
Yeah.
got it done with 60 frames per second. In the end, you
Great
got
point.
to update it. Those are the type of things that just can't
Yeah.
happen anymore. You
Yeah.
have to
Great
understand that
point,
you're,
Tim. I
you
totally
know,
forgot about that. A great point, though, Tim. Because how many games did we see on the Xbox where they came out and made all the excuses in the book? This is the way the game was intended to run, and blah 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 blah. It was for artistic
They
reasons,
had to
and
put a
there was a
sticker
million reasons.
on
And then it seemed
Redfall.
like 3 or 4 games, right? Starfield came out kind of frigged up, and Redfall frigged up. What was the other one? There was like 3 or 4 games that came out. Even was it a Valve got patched too, didn't it?
Hellblade was also 30 at Hellblade 2 was 30 at launch, but 60 on PC.
yeah.
Oh yeah, right. But they did this with almost like how many games, and then 6 or 7 months after the fact, that somehow miraculously it wasn't impossible anymore. They could get it done. It's like, come on, you guys are full of crap.
Yeah.
But you compare them to Sony and Sony, Sony's smart. Like they'll just delay, and you look at what they did in 2020. You look at 2015. They literally won NPDs by a marketing deal. I remember I used to Droid, Alejandroid. I haven't seen him in a while. He's a very good guy, but we used to fight all the time. But he literally, if you remember, this is going back, that was when the CEO, I think it was Layden, said sparse. We're going to be sparse at the end of the year. But that was
Mhm.
because they delayed Uncharted to 2016. So the point is that Xbox was releasing these games with these problems, and the optics of these games when you release them and they're unfinished or they're not 30 frames per second, they could have been 60 frames per second. They're just detrimental. Like Sony, they'll take the hit for the 2 days. We'll have our laughs. We'll bash them. A couple of YouTube videos, but in a week we forget about it, and then the hunger starts up again for the game. Uncharted's a perfect example. They basically cooked up Uncharted Collection, which was their holiday, which was basically just like ports, and they put 60 frames per second or whatever they did, and they basically went with Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront marketing, and Call of Duty marketing. And Sony fans, Droid was actually saying that was exclusive. This is how crazy we talk about the exclusive. He was actually saying, and guess what? They beat Xbox with we had Gears of War 4, you had Forza, and Xbox still lost MPDs. So the point is that sometimes the game has to take precedence. What's the famous statement? Uh, a, a bad game forever or whatever. If you release a game too early and it has problems, it's a bad game forever. But if you wait and delay, you could fix those problems. God of War or whatever the case is. Sony's the king of that. Then you get like a 90 Metacritic game, and the Xbox is showing Halo Infinite, and that bothers me to this day that they show that this their flagship, and they show it in that condition. And yeah, I remember watching. I'm like, looks like I know this is gonna get bashed. Sure enough, sure did.
Oh man, we were
But
there.
you know, the
Right.
reality is that you can't have that anymore, or you're gonna, they just can't. I think that maybe they do understand this, and we got to see this But the no more Mr. Nice Guy
Mhm.
umbrella, or that has to go away.
Yeah, and they got to know their place. I mean, obviously, yes, they're from a console sales perspective, they're going to be, second or third or whatever. They're not going to sell as many. Probably not. Probably never will. No matter, what the optics are, right? Unless miraculously they could come out and say get Grand Theft Auto 7 exclusive or something like that, and maybe it would completely turn the tides. That's not going to happen. But I think they need to concentrate. Like I said, they got to focus on their strengths, double down on them. They will sell a ton. They will sell a boatload. Again, I get it. Everybody always tells, well, it's not about the console. They don't make money. No, but that's your delivery method, people.
Yes.
Like it's common sense. Why do you think Apple can always wanted to sell iPads? Same thing. They didn't make a shit ton on the iPad. They wanted to sell it because they're going to make a ton on software. They're going to make a ton on engagement. They're going to make a ton through advertisements, through ads. All this. We're not that stupid. We understand they're not making tons on the console, but you have to get them in front of people. Getting them in front of the right people is even more detrimental because you guess what? We've said this a billion times. Perry, you've said it. I've said it. Timdog, you've said, look, if your friend buys an Xbox, guess what? Your other friend is more likely to buy an Xbox. Kids at school, if their friend is an Xbox and they're talking about Xbox and they're playing Call of Duty on Xbox, guess what the freak they're going to go out and buy? The other kid's going to buy an Xbox.
That's what kids are doing with PlayStation right now. Who's got a PlayStation?
Exactly.
Oh, I got one.
PlayStation. And if exclusives aren't the thing, well, explain how Nintendo has any success at all. Do you think Nintendo is successful because they have the best graphics and they have the best selection of third-party games and they have the most powerful hardware? Nintendo hasn't had to market any, and that's the crazy part of Nintendo. Nintendo can get away acting like a complete crazy person because they're shit in the grand scheme of things. Literally, Nintendo is shit. Compared to the other two, their online service is shit. The only thing they got going is the fact that it's 20 something bucks or whatever, you can play a few games. It's taken them 20 friggin' years to basically have the same competent service on a Nintendo Switch as what had on the original Xbox, for crying out loud. The 360 had better online and better party chats and stuff than Nintendo still has today. But again, Nintendo gets away with it. Why? Because their power of exclusives and their marketing is so strong that people don't care. They've got people, like I said, Mario Kart. The new Mario Kart game is $115 Canadian, and it sells out. It constantly sells with or without the bundle because people just eat it up. They love Nintendo. They love what it stands for. They know what they're getting. They know they're always getting a top product, and Nintendo doubles down on it. And the movie's success of Mario, that's only helping them, right? Because their properties are kicking butt. The Halo show, that almost ruined Halo 2. We got Mr. Master Cheeks out there, it looked cool. He had a great outfit. I didn't mind the actor, Pablo Schreiber. There was a lot of cool stuff about the show, but then there was a lot of bad stuff too. It was so
taking the helmet off,
right?
Come on,
right?
Taking the helmet off.
Yeah. What was the next thing? What was the next thing? He was going to start, having some kind of transvestite love affair with Brute or something. Honest to God.
He's Cortana.
Right? Yeah, and they screwed her up. Cortana used to be cool and sexy.
She was hot.
She became
was
lame
hot and sexy.
Oh,
Thing. And listen, there's nothing wrong with the way she was dressed originally.
no.
She wasn't naked. She
No,
wasn't
exactly.
spread eagle. Come on, let's be honest. She was busty and she was dressed a little bit revealing, but it wasn't nipples popping out. Is that like that does you're predominantly selling to men too. Let's be honest. You're selling to want to see that. It's not they just it's part of the lore.
Mhm.
So again, they can't be afraid to do stuff like that. That's to me, it's you got want to draw the comparison, but there's so many crazy things in this world. If Cortana has a busty outfit on, that's not the end of the world. We can deal with it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's when they start worrying about that stuff, and I hate that about Microsoft, that they're always oh well, we have to worry about our image. The good thing is that a lot of that stuff, like the Cerny, whatever the pronouns and all that all that politics, that stuff is kind of nobody's doing that now. Everything is pretty much gone buck wild. and that's or people are less sensitive, in my opinion. So the point is that be a little bit edgy. Again,
Exactly.
we don't need to. Again, we don't need to. That's what the court wants. They want Cortana the way she originally was. And there's things like I'm just sick of all the
Oh
politics
yeah.
involved. Politics ruin everything.
Yeah.
If your game
Politics
is rated
suck.
M, if your game is rated M for mature, it should be an rated M for mature game.
Right.
That's what I never understood. It's like, why slap the rating on there if you're going to restrict it anyway? How many people that play Halo with me go, why is this game even rated M? Because it's like really not much in it. What's it like 3 curse words or something like that? Like, it was
If you're gonna
never
have
like,
M, just have
you
some
know,
curse words, at least go for
exactly.
it.
Well, with 5
But
and Infinite, they were rated T. That's when they started to rate them. All the other ones, I think, were M, except for those two.
and then
Gears of
Gears
War got rated
5,
M because
yeah.
I told you to touch my tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean they took off war, like Gears of
Yeah.
War. Like, come on. Was that political? What the hell? Just have Gears of War 5.
Yeah. It's already an
That stuff
established
drives me
franchise.
nuts. I
Yeah, because
remember
it
when
was, it was a community acronym or community shorten it up, but like it just made the game. It dampened it down. Like, it felt like it was
Well,
watering down by taking
remember
out the most aggressive part of the name.
remember Battletoads? They dumbed down the queen. The queen is an old lady that wears like she covers everything up now. Whereas in Battletoads, she was like a hot woman. So I don't know what
And the
happened there.
crazy
But
thing is that you have Roblox, and you have
Mm.
dudes as kids on freaking the thing. So
I saw the
it's
Chris
like all
Hansen thing on that.
crazy. Yeah, no, it's bad. But
Yeah, it's really
the
bad.
point is that I think with that type of stuff is how about be a good parent and
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
will work itself out. Like actually monitor your kid and instead of just say, hey, go play your game and let Microsoft be your parent. No, how about you spend a little time with your kid and monitor what they
Preach.
what they
Hmm.
watch and stuff like that. But listen, I think games in general, and this is just listen, The Last of Us was great when the guy throws the guy on the ground and blows his face off. Like that's what we want to see as gamers. If you're gonna game the parental rating, the parental rating is paramount, and I agree with that. But we have to be parents in this world. We have to you have to watch your kid and you have to supervise your kid. There's ways to also, you could never buy them the game if you don't want it. Do your research. It takes 10 minutes to do research. You know, so the point is that I think that just overall in gaming that we have to um let developers be creative and not be so scared, and Microsoft as well not to be so afraid of offending people, like because you end up being so afraid of offending people that you offend people who actually bought to buy the game
Right.
because
Yeah.
you're censoring things. So yeah, no, that stuff it really infuriates me because so many, like, I think Grand Theft Auto is going to be a very good litmus test for this, because Grand Theft Auto historically, from even I believe the first one, has always um has always tested societal boundaries. We can go into the things with 5 and 4 and the hookers and all that and the craziness, but people like, again, if you don't want your kid playing Gears of War, Grand Theft Auto, don't let them. But I'm hoping that Grand Theft Auto, um, 5 or 6, Grand Theft Auto 6
Hmm.
is everything that the Grand Theft Auto, um, the series has been. So, if we see these stupid reports that, it's this and it's bad and it's this, it's like, no, just be a good parent. Let us gamers have our games, especially when, you give your kid an iPhone, you basically open Pandora's box,
Mm.
because
Very
unless
true.
you restrict it, you could see anything. You could see anything. So that's the bottom line. So Yeah, I really hope that we can move forward in the industry and have creators be creative and not be so afraid of hurting people's feelings. I'm not saying go out of your way to do it, but
No,
if
no.
you have a vision, go ahead with your vision.
Absolutely.
Can I want to bring this up to Tim. Frank, when Frank played the Fable Legends beta, right? When was that, Frank? 2013, 2012? When was that?
Something like that. It was a long time ago. I think it was when Xbox One first came out.
Well, let me just give you this, Tim. He played the beta. Okay, he was one of the lucky few because I wanted to play it
I played it.
and I couldn't get in it, so he got lucky.
I played it with Phil.
Well, listen, right? Frank was a single man when he played it, right? He's been waiting for that game, and then they closed Lionhead, and then they rebooted it with this current one that's coming out. This man has been waiting to play Fable for so long. He is now married with 2 children, and the game still isn't out yet.
It's become like a generational development cycle.
And his daughter
Yeah.
is going to be 6-7 years old.
She's gonna be
That's
7.
crazy.
She's
7.
gonna be old enough to play the game by the time it comes out.
Exactly.
That's impossible.
And that's a 10 pole, and that's a 10 pole game, Fable.
Yeah.
That's a
mean-
huge problem, man. That think about that development cycle. Like, that's insane. Like, I know it's a different game than Fable Legends, but that's like a big problem that they need to address. It should not take that long, like you said, for a tentpole game. Like,
I
that.
just wanted to put
That's
that out there in
insane.
case anybody was listening.
They forced games as a service on them. So that was, I had tied that in actually because they forced that as a games. They didn't want to do games as a service. They had to hire people. They had to hire multiplayer people. Like, it's like I said, like when Fable Legends, I remember being on Xbox Uncut, and I remember getting into an argument. I said, "How about just have like Fable, like the normal Xbox one? Like,
Mm.
who wants this?" And if you remember in 2013, that the whole push when it was revealed was that games as a service. That's where everything is going, or multiplayer games, and it has to be this and that. They ruined that because again they told them what to do, and then that type of mentality scared Phil off to then being having a hands off. You could work on what you want, work on, listen, Xbox has had some of the worst luck, like everything that went against them that possibly could, went against them, including COVID, which gave them a false sense of security. But maybe, just maybe, that the curse is over and like maybe this what's starting could actually be positive. It
And
I
and that's
believe
a great.
everything. Go ahead.
So no, go ahead, Tim. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I
Yeah.
just feel like maybe there's something. Maybe we'll get a little lucky here because
I
that's what
hope
we
so.
need. We need to get like we need just something to catch on fire, something to become like like you look at Fortnite, you look at Minecraft, like those games. They became generational. Who knows what the history? Who knows what the future holds? But I just think that maybe they just have a change of luck. Maybe they just get a couple of wins here.
That's what I'm hoping. I mean,
Well-
I got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and you guys saw 2 weeks ago I traded in all those consoles,
Mm-hmm.
and then a couple days later they stole our slogan, and I was like, okay, they're listening to me. I know now they're listening to me.
Yeah.
So that kind of brought me back in a little bit.
I think they got to realize that the passion level for the fans like us, and that we're not
Yes.
here blowing. Like, if you're really listening, and we've said this to our audience multiple times, a lot of people come into our chats, and sometimes they listen to us, but they're not hearing us, right?
Yes.
They're very selective of what they pick and choose, or the clips that they want to soundbite from us when they're, new for Timdog, or somebody said this, and they clip what they want, and then they do like the media does. They kind of like take it out of context because you're not providing
all
the
the
whole
time.
story, and they just trade us as a bunch of haters. but they have to listen to us because like again, we're not paid people. We're not we're not getting freebies and stuff. We're not like basically blowing
You're
butter up
not?
their butts just
No,
because.
I'm kidding.
And look, and I know all too well about this. I worked in radio for 7 years. There was lots of products and lots of businesses in my community that I did not like. But you know what? If they were paying, guess what? I had to keep my mouth shut. I
You had
couldn't
to
go on
do
the
it,
air
yeah.
and say that Joe Blow's pizza was an absolute dog shit and I would never eat it because they were fucking paying advertisers. So you had to go, yeah, Joe Blow's is great. Get down there for the 2-for-1 special, So it's kind of the same way with video games too, and I guess that's never really going to change. And don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? But that's the thing; you always have to take it with a grain of salt. And I like you see a lot of guys when they do reviews or they do unboxing and stuff. Well, this was provided to me by such and such, and it's great that they clarified it up front. But then you always have to be like, when they give you their honest opinion, is it truly honest? Are they padding their reviews? Are they giving it a little extra because they got something free? Because we've seen in the past too that as soon as you say something bad, especially about a product that really needs like a good review, like a certain game is coming out and they really need these reviews to be positive because they know that, 200,000 or 300,000 sales could rely on a review. And it's a sad state of affairs that's where the game industry kind of is at. An 8 or a 9 might get a lot more sales than something that comes in at a 7. But that's on them to build a great game. And I think that's the thing. If developers are confident in their product, they're not too worried about it. That's what I said. Like, you notice the good developers, they'll give their games to reviewers like a week or two in advance because that's how confident they are that they have built a good product. And the other ones that hold them back, you're kind of always like, oh boy, if you haven't got a review copy in your hands until the day of release, that's usually never a good sign. More often than not. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but more often than not. But going back to the Fable and stuff too, like, I want to know like developers wise, and this is something I need to sit down with a dev and really, especially a AAA dev. It's like I'd like to ask questions. What is making development so hard? Is it securing the financing? Because remember during the 360 era, and honestly, if you go back to the 360 era and you play like the Gears games and all that stuff, they're not really that far different or worse looking than a lot of the stuff we got today. Like really, like some of that stuff even still holds up from that era of games. It's crazy,
Dude,
right?
the
Yeah,
360
for sure.
graphics, they still hold up.
Crisis
Right?
on PC holds up against anything today. I mean, look
Right?
at play like I played Crisis on PC and literally holds up against any kind of game today, pretty much. I
Exactly.
mean, that
So
says a
what?
lot.
So what's the hang up in development? Why these constant 5, 7, 8 year development cycles now? So is it because it's going for performance? Is that because we were always told that every generation they have better tools to make games easier to develop, speed up the process time, cut down a lot because a lot of stuff you can reuse resources. Plus, a lot of these devs are using Unreal for most of their games, which means they should have quite a bit of familiarity with the engines to start with. So, what is the real hang up here? Is it because the projects are too ambitious, or maybe they need to scale it back? Maybe they got to start realizing that, like I said, these games that take 50 something hours and they're these massive maps. We don't need too many of those anymore. Like that's not what we need. Some people care about it, sure, but I would say it's a much smaller percentage of people that really give a crap. Most of the people I talk to, when they have these RPGs are famous for it, when they start getting past like 40 hours, most people are tuned out, even if they even make it to the 40-hour mark. I know for myself, I don't want games over 20 hours anymore. Like to me, that's just too long. I don't
Yeah,
have the
me too.
time to
Same.
invest in it. So what? Like I'm sure that all the analytics are there. All the developers have these stats on who finishes the games and what percentage. And if you notoriously look at a lot of times the amount of people, even your Xbox achievements, a lot of times will tell you, the complete ending only. 0.5, 0.95 have done got to the ending. You're like 6% of people that bought this game, and it's like 5 million copies. Jesus, what does that tell you? It tells you that your games aren't engaging enough, or they're too long, or people don't have the time to finish. So why be spending so much time on these games? It's better to give us more games in shorter chunks. Like Hellblade 2, for example. Yeah, it cost a lot more, but it wasn't a super long game. I'm fine with the length of Hellblade 2. Like to me, it didn't overstay its welcome. It was good. It looked fantastic. I want more stuff like that. Stuff that bridges the gap between a game and entertainment or a movie but it's not overstaying its welcome. You don't feel like by the time you're getting to the end, you're like, oh my God, will this just end already? Like, we've seen this crap before. Assassin's Creed, you're definitely one of the famous culprits. You're absolutely like, what are you doing?
Well,
Why are your games so
God of
long?
War with the fetch questing, like it was insane.
God of War Ragnarok was like, oh my God, like I loved the first God of War. Couldn't wait to get to the ending of that one. And the second one, man, I kept tuning in. I had to come back to that game like 4 or 5 times. Same thing with Spider-Man 2. I was like, I've done this game already. This is a copy and paste, and you're just putting all these padded missions in there. So why? And then you went, oh yeah, the DI.
They got to justify the $70. That's why.
Yeah, and then you made that girl ugly as shit too. Like, what the freak?
Yeah,
Mary
I
James
don't
was
know.
cute in the first game, and then she got ugly in the second game.
I'm not ugly, Noof. Come on. I'm kidding.
Uh,
You gave Mary Jane a jaw like friggin' like Popeye there, like George Jump.
Popeye.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of like the pre-production and a lot of I don't know what it is. I mean, you're getting up to 7-year dev cycles. Like
It's expensive.
it used to be like 3 years, and then it went to 4 years. Like now you got like, if you're not, on top of them, like Xbox is running how many, or it's 7, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
2018 they bought Fable. I mean, they bought Playground and all these studios, and a lot of 7 to
Mhm.
8 year dev cycles. I don't know. I did hear that AI and AGI is
Right.
going to speed up everything, but that's also going to cost, unfortunately, actual humans their work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I had my friend, if you can follow him at Shapeformer, Robert. He's a very smart guy, and he explained why AGI and what it does. Basically, he talks about a program that, like, usually used to take so and so a certain amount of time, and it's really cutting down. But as the technology ramps up, the speed will ramp up. So I do think that they can get these dev cycles down, as far as, like, from 7 years back to 4 years, maybe even quicker. But again, that's going to be, unfortunately, you're going to see turnover in
Yeah.
in
Totally.
workers, because you're not going to need the same amount of people. It would be great if they could keep the same amount of people and actually get the games quicker. Because the faster you get the games out, the faster that you can get the machine rolling with these games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is, a lot of times also when you're making a newer game, you have to make new assets, you have to make everything new. You can reuse the assets
Yeah.
in remakes. But you look at Wolverine. How long has that been
Yeah.
announced? 6 years, I guess, dev cycle at, or it was 2019, I think, was. I don't remember. But yeah, no, it's the developmental time. That's where you said the money is, where also, these games are costing over, $100 million for a
Yeah.
triple A. Sometimes I think, I wonder what GTA 6 is. You're talking, I think, maybe close to $1 billion for game development.
Yeah.
And those numbers, when you get up to, the 100 million, 300 millions, and Spider-Man was 300 millions, that becomes a problem, because now you're selling a crazy amount of games, and your margin is like 5%. It's like, okay, you're making a little bit of money, but it becomes a problem, because what if that game doesn't sell? Then
Yeah.
you're bankrupt.
Yeah. But
So
then,
the
like I said, it's
economy.
there's efficiency in studios though. Let's take Capcom for example, right? I mean,
Yeah.
ever since Resident Evil 7 came out, they've had Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village. They put out Requiem. They put out how many Monster Hunter games? They put out how many
All
Street
the
Fighter
remakes of
games?
Resident Evil
They have
in
all the
between.
remake games, which take resources. No matter how you spin it, remaking Resident Evil 2 and 3 and 4 from scratch with all new graphics and like adding content to them. That takes work no matter how you spin it. Like, so, like, obviously you have these companies that seem to get shit done, and other companies that are lost in limbo. So again, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what's going on, but there's definitely something amiss with a lot of people. Naughty Dog was actually doing a pretty good clip for a while until Neil Druckmann got stuck into his TV show and all this other
Right.
junk. You know, and the thing that most companies don't realize new, and I think somebody alluded to it a couple of years ago, is that our audience is changing. While we're like, for example, we're Gears of War fans, right? And we're super excited about the new Gears. There's a lot of fans who are not even introduced to this series. They've never played any of the 5 games
The
prior
time.
to the time, right? So this is another reason why I think remakes or remasters are good for gaming, because it pads the release schedule where we're waiting, and it not only allows some of us to go back and re-experience the games, but it allows new fans to jump into a series as well that might have missed out. Which is, again, is what I'm all for it. I know people think they hate it, but look, if it doesn't really mess with your schedule too much, and you got a team that can adequately do it and do it right, then by all means, like this one here, Gears will Reloaded, phenomenal version of the game. Better than the original in almost every retrospect. But like I said, like we're in a generation now where the new gamers coming up, they're the TikTok generation. They're all about 5-minute content. They're all about
Yes.
and that's the thing. And I think this is part of the marketing too, and this is where they've been trying to figure this out, is how do you engage with the new generation and get them invested? They're not invested in these story-based games like we used to be. Like you see them all going towards Roblox and Fortnites and Minecrafts and all these games that they can consume in these little doses, but not really stuff that is investment. And unfortunately, a lot of the story-based narrative games, a lot of those are the big budget AAA games, right? So it's a tricky landscape to navigate for sure.
Yes.
It's trying to keep them all invested, and this is probably the hardest thing to figure out with today's game industry, is who are we building the games for? I mean, you want every game to be successful, but there is still limitations on it. I mean, Spider-Man is largely it's so successful for Sony because of the property. If it didn't have Spider-Man's name attached to it, that game is probably not anywhere close to being as big as some. But that goes for
No
any
way.
superhero game for that matter, right? But I'm sure Wolverine's going to come out in the fall, and it's going to do extremely well because a lot of X-Men Wolverine fans out there. But who's going to buy it? Is it going to be mostly the hardcore people? Are we going to get a lot of the new kids buying PlayStation or like excited about Wolverine, or are they all going to save their money up and get GTA instead? Right. So there's a lot of questions that remain to be answered. But I definitely think development cycles overall, they got to figure out a way, like I said, to keep it down, because a property can lose its relevancy within the run of 3 or 4 years. It's like an actor. If an actor isn't constantly making movies, they lose the limelight. Like I said, you got to strike while the
Exactly.
iron is hot. Like Vin Diesel, like for a while he was forgotten about, and then he had to go back to the well. He didn't even want to do Fast and Furious movies anymore, but guess what? He had to, because all of his movies were tanking, and he's like, well, I got to go back to the movie that makes me money, even though I don't want to, but I'm going to. And then what? We're on number 10 or 11 now all of a sudden. So, you got to stay relevant. And by staying relevant means you have to be, sometimes it has to be more content than the quality of the content.
Well, with Xbox, it's a tier. I think it's a tiered issue with the development, because they announce stuff way too early to try to keep you subscribed. Then they take too long. Stuff gets canceled, whatever. And then on top of that, like we were saying before, there's a problem with management. I really do believe that they're just too big.
Mhm.
There's too much going on. There's nobody really cracking the whip, so to speak. And like Tim was saying too, about that culture of like nobody wants to speak up because they're afraid, like, oh, you can't say anything like negative. I think that even permeates down to their the fans that are in the inner circle that they promote and all that stuff. I think that that's a big problem, is that they've kept people close that aren't going to speak up, and people like us who are going to criticize them in
Yeah.
a professional way. We're not just being like, hey, Xbox sucks. We're actually
No.
trying to say, hey, we have like legitimate criticism. And they've been so padded from that by creating this circle of influencers that are not going to say anything negative. And I think that's why they've a big reason why they've gotten to this point too. It's a whole thing. It's a company
Good
wide
point.
issue.
Well, I think it's been a product of itself. I think it's festered, and I think it's to the point where you could actually say it's too far gone. I mean, that's unfortunately the sad part of this, is that this is very well might be the end of the line. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I kind of feel like something's gonna, I think like I said, I have a good feeling. So sometimes my feelings are just feelings, but sometimes they're right. So,
Well, if the hardware continues to decline at some point, the shareholders are going to
yeah,
say, "Hey, we can't do this anymore." Like that's just the fact of how it is, which is not
right.
good.
Well, I think there's still a possibility that they don't release Helix. Like, that's why I say this upcoming quarter is very critical. Like, you got to watch things. You got to watch obviously the revenue, but which is going to be down. But if they can get if they got to start
Yeah.
showing, they got to start showing some signs of life. And you've noticed that they're showing the Xbox. Aaron pointed out, he posted something with the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. People are posting their stuff like, "Hey, I just bought this and it's getting 1,000, 2,000 likes." Um, so there is something going on with the hardware, and there is something going on with the hardware, and the reality is that they have to start to show some pretty. They got to start to show some gains, and I think that they will. But again, I don't know. They got to do something with the price, maybe bundles or whatever. But they got to get it to a point where they're showing something, because the numbers are scary.
Mhm.
They're not like we're not in a position that we were 3 years ago or whatever, or when this or unfortunately when the 4 games hit, because you had a little bit of leeway room. At this point, your leeway room is it's like you're two mistakes away from them just saying, you know what,
Yeah.
let's just
Mhm.
I think that they'll release the console, um, but I do feel like they do okay. Um, so I get yelled at for having a podcast. Unbelievable. So anyway, I think that they do have a shot though to have something here, and it's about them taking the bull by its horn, and embracing this and embracing your fans, and getting yourself out there, and so far they have been, but like I said, you got to watch this next quarter. They have a lot of potentials. They have potentials for issues, or like where it could be bad, but they also have a lot of potential for stuff to be good. So it's great that we have the passion and that we're talking about it, and we're going to be the one thing about us, and that with me right off the bat, because I could have
Mhm.
easily went and said, "Hey guys, like, don't worry, buy your games. Doesn't matter that somebody else is playing your game. Who cares?" But I gave up my platform. I gave up. I was getting not $1,000, 1,000 followers a
Mhm.
month. I was making a little bit of money. Nothing to write home about. I don't never cared about the money. But I was also going to Xbox Fan Fest, going to exclusive stuff where, like, people were asking me, "Are you going?" And I would be the
Hmm.
first one to be asked. So I gave that all up just to say, "Hey, this is wrong." And I am still in the boat that I made the right decision,
You
because I
did.
have my
Yes.
dignity, and now is the time where from everyone on this panel, we're going to give you the truth.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you some answer that Jeff Rubenstein's telling you hey, watch out for this, and or like, hey, please, whatever, this is where we're going. We're not gonna make excuses. We're just not.
Yeah.
So I think that if people listening, you want a
Yeah.
real
Well,
podcast that gives real feedback, you're going to get it here.
Yeah.
but again, the
Absolutely.
people listen to it and they just think that we're just a bunch of old farts complaining, and that isn't it. I've heard you at your peak, Tim. I've heard you. This is again why I have nothing but love and respect for you, and always will, because I watched you on enough podcasts, heard you on podcasts speak very positively about X. I knew you were like the hardcore, the diehard, like you're right in there. You were a guy who was there right at day one, right in the trenches. It's been to
Yeah.
the fan fest, has met the executives, have met the developers, have had great conversations, stuff that I was never and probably will never be privy to like you had. So to me, like, you were always a great insider because you knew stuff that the average person did not know about Xbox. And when you finally, like I said, when you finally kind of got that whiff of the shit hitting the fan, so to speak, and I heard you speak out against them, I knew it was like, I'm not going crazy here. I'm not the only guy that's like, man, like, Xbox is really messing up. And when you mess
Yeah.
up with your hardcore faithful, it's like a sports team, man. When you got your season ticket holders don't want to buy tickets anymore, you done screwed up. That's kind of where
Big time.
Xbox is. They got to get us back in. We're not out. Like, our toes have been, we've been kind of hopping out, but we're not out. We're kind of hanging by the thread here. And we've been trying to just give them our feedback and our way of looking at the industry and our way of looking at what they're doing and going, this isn't right. What you're doing is not catering to us at all. And we still need to feel important. We still need to feel like our money is worth their while. Like, it's like the cable companies. And the cable companies are always dangling the carrot at the new guy. Like, oh, we're going to give you this plan. We're going to give you, 6 months free, and it's going to be $10 a month, and blah blah blah. And then you go, well, what about the guys who've been with you for 12 years? We get diddly squat. We get
Yeah.
like, where is our
They jack the prices up on them.
Where is our names posted on the banners of the Xbox faithful? Like,
Yeah,
where
for
is our
real.
recognition
Come on,
for
man.
sticking with them for all these years and being honest enough to tell them you guys are screwing up. And if you listen to us just a little bit, even the smallest things, maybe you start to revert course. Doesn't mean you guys are going to turn things around overnight. Absolutely not. Doesn't mean you're going to go out and your stocks are going to fly to the friggin' roof. Absolutely not. This fix is going to take time. But the thing is, it's possible. Anybody can come back from the dead. Capcom was almost bought out and they're back from the dead. Anybody can come back. It's a little harder for you guys. It's a little harder for you guys because, yes, you are still trying to sell hardware along with the games. If you just wanted to become a third-party publisher, this is your easiest way out. But we think that, we've always believed in your hardware. We've technically, for most of the time, we've always believed Xbox has been the best value proposition, best bang for the buck. Series X is a phenomenal piece of hardware.
I bought every Xbox One, all the special editions, and you know what? I knew that console was a piece of garbage, but I still bought it because I was in the ecosystem and I loved Xbox. And I wanted to collect all the consoles.
And Xbox came back from the dead almost because if you think back to the 360, the Red Rings of Death could have killed the majority of companies.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Would have killed them. But it didn't, only because of two reasons. They had leaders who were ballsy enough to go in and speak the truth right in front of Ballmer's face and say, we have to do what's right by the customer. And he said, go ahead and do it. You just fix it. I don't care how many dollars it takes, but you fix it. And the fans were loyal enough to stick by them and go through sometimes 2, 3, 4 Red Rings of Death consoles. Like, that's crazy.
No, people's Red Rings.
That's unheard of.
I worked at Best Buy in Yonkers, okay? People's consoles were red ringing and they were coming in and they were like, yeah, red ringed. I got to send it back next week. I'm just going to buy another one. I got to play Halo tonight with the guys.
Right? Exactly.
You don't have that anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. Like, that's how powerful the brand was,
That's what I mean. And that's how loyal, that's how
you could have had people come in and be like, yeah, my Xbox got red ring. Give me a PS3. No, nobody wanted a PS3.
No.
They were willing to pay $60 a year to go online, then get it for free with PlayStation.
That itself right there, that's the kind of fan, that's the kind of loyalty, that's the kind of commitment that most people will never get in their lifetime. That's how much of an impact your brand, your games, your hardware made on us. The best controller, the best console, some of the best franchise. I don't give a shit if they all won Game of the Year or not. Like, Halo was one of the best shooters for decades. Gears of War was unprecedented and never came out. And
I told you that
always the game too.
Randos came in for that.
Gamers. Yeah, PlayStation gamers, this is the one franchise that a lot of PlayStation gamers were jealous of, and they won't admit it, but they were jealous of Gears. They hated that we had Gears, and they didn't, right? They either had to play it on Xbox or go play it on a PC, but either way, they couldn't play it on a PlayStation until Gears Reloaded. This is what I'm saying, man. This is the kind of shit that most companies could only wish that they had this level of interaction with, and that's what they got to get back is keep your core, reinvest, get aggressive again, be a little bit ballsy. Don't be afraid to make a couple of mistakes because at this point, if you fucking don't put all your eggs in the basket to fix this shit, the brand is going to go downhill. It's not going to be the Xbox we know and love. You will be a third-party publisher in a matter of a couple of years. Right now, we're still waiting for Helix. We're still probably intending to buy Helix, but you got to make that investment feel like it's worth the while for us. And worth the while is, first and foremost, it's going to be about having exclusive games, because otherwise, I'll just play them on PlayStation. Why do I need to spend $1,000 on your hardware if you're going to put the same damn games over on the competitor? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Are you going to tell me it's because Game Pass is the best? Nobody gives a shit about Game Pass other than cheapskates and all that fucking shit.
I'm so tired of Game Pass. Let me tell you something. I've had Game Pass stacked.
Games. How many games did you guys buy?
I hate Game Pass now.
How many games did you guys buy from Xbox before Game Pass? When there was no Game Pass at full effing price? How many?
All of them.
A lot.
700.
Yeah, how many games? So why did all of a sudden this became a problem? I think Game Pass was meant to bring more people in because it was the best value.
I even bought games when they were in Game Pass just to give them the freaking money. And I guess I was an idiot, right?
Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be an all-you-can-eat buffet for all the hardcore guys who normally bought their games anyway. What you did is you trained every single dude in the friggin' ecosystem to go, I don't have to buy it. I just get it on Game Pass. And it's free. I always hated that. It's free. No, it's not. You're paying a subscription. If you pay a subscription for anything, nothing is free.
But I want to...
It's kind of, it's not free.
I want to run this by Timdog because, listen, all these games that are coming out on PlayStation, the Xbox games, they're not doing well. And you know why they're not doing well? And I don't know why Xbox executives didn't figure this one out. But all these PlayStation guys, they played it for $1 when they came out on Game Pass.
Yeah, you're right. Remember that.
They didn't wait 3 years for it to come out at full price.
Quick shout out to one of the real OGs in the community too. A lot of guys probably hate to do, but I think he's funny as hell. And that's Next Gen 720. When I was on a podcast with him one time,
friends with him.
When I was on a podcast with 720 one time, and he goes, "It's the welfare pass, dude." I cracked up laughing, and I'm still laughing to this day. You know, because the way Next Gen articulates stuff, it's so friggin' funny. Oh my god, I died at it, dude. And there's another guy. There's another friends. Yeah, and there's another guy that used to be like gung ho hardcore Xbox, and you done pissed him off too.
Oh, everyone. You got Chris. You got Techno. Remember Techno? Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember him. He went really crazy about it. You know, listen, they pretty much lost every hardcore. But the fact that, listen, I'll take myself, the fact that I'm willing to buy Xbox if they clearly just, and listen, I'm not even saying, I'm not saying you have to say, I'm realistic. I get it. If it were me, I would go full broke. I wouldn't even put in the game. I would say, right? I would say, you can't even get it on PC.
Yeah, because and listen, and you guys notice this is their last shot. They have to pick a road this time and stick to it, because if they veer off that road even once, people will just walk for good. Because the last regime really screwed up the messaging big time, and they screwed all the fans over. Now, this lady, I believe she can fix it. Looking at her resume, she's done a lot of great things for Home Depot and all those places. I think she could get this done. It's going to take time. When I wrote my letter that I sent, dude, when I was done writing it, I was like, I did a good job. And then I read it again, and I was like, man, it'd probably be easier for this lady just to make everything third party and call it a day. Even I was like, there's a lot of work that's got to go into this, but I think that she can get it done. But we have to wait and we have to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, you have to cater to the fans.
I think she can get it done. She just has to do it in a pragmatic way.
Yeah.
Meaning, this is the way I would go about it. If I really was there, Gears, say we're going Gears exclusive. Say it right at the thing. Get everyone pumped up.
Yeah.
Then when Halo comes out, say, listen, we will make you will be able to get. You can do it two ways. You'll be able to get the remakes, or you just say this is the last Halo. If I would say, obviously, this is the last Halo, and we're gonna be multi-plat moving forward. So get it while you can. Same with Forza. Same. This is the last Forza, and then you signify and say the same thing with Fable. That's the realistic way that I would go about this. But the reality is that I know that it's very hard for them to say, "Hey," if I really, really was in the room, I would say, I really, if you really ask me, I would say go full exclusive. That means get everything off the PC,
Mm-hmm.
and make people buy your console. That I would go back to the real OG Xbox way, and I think that that type of signaling and that type of bold move, because you mentioned Noof, the boldness. I'm a firm believer of energy. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's the type of thing where if you if you match somebody's energy, ever say when they say match somebody's energy, in this type of psychological whatever it is, the way we
Mm-hmm.
are our society, people will go crazy, like in a good way. Like people will love that. People want people to stand up. People want Xbox to say, "Hey, we're the best." When they say we're the best, then they say, "You know what? I need that console." Now, there's an easy
Yep.
way to do this. You're gonna have $1,000 Helix. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
overpriced for some, but all you do is you just redesign. You get there's a lower, there's a 5 nanometer Xbox. You make a really cool Xbox Series X
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with the new logo that do that color, the green, like that
Yeah.
OG Xbox, and you sell that for an affordable piece. That'll be your new S. And then the Xbox Series S, all you do is you just let that, you don't redesign that. You just sell it. You could either sell it, you could sell it for $299. But when you get to the games, at this point, every game is released with uh, you know, um, uh, cloud support.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's the way you handle it. And I think you would get
Yeah.
people to buy a ton of consoles again. And your games,
Mhm.
um, guess what? They would buy
Yep.
it on Xbox.
Yep.
So there you go.
You,
That's
you,
what I
you
would
you
say.
preach you're preaching facts, Tim. You're definitely not wrong, brother. I agree
That's
wholeheartedly
if
with
I
that.
if it was
That would
if
be a
it's
real brash move, but you're right. You're totally right.
people would just like they would go
They'll get
crazy.
used to it. You'll go
But they
crazy,
used
but
to
they'll
it,
get used to it.
but in a good way. Like people will
Yeah.
love it. Like things can just get popular overnight. That does happen,
Oh
and that's
yes.
kind of what happened with like PlayStation because of Xbox the screw up. You know, Xbox had 85 million. PlayStation 3 was at 83 million. Think about that, and they didn't even have a Japanese market. That's how good Xbox was doing. So the point is that
Well,
if they could just rekindle,
even in
70%
North
of them.
America, even in North America, were the sales numbers at first, or at least the projected numbers of the Xbox Series consoles versus the PS5, weren't they relatively close for the first
Yes,
for
it
the
was like
first year?
Yeah.
a million behind or whatever. Yeah, but
They weren't
it
that
was
far off, and then it was like a
no.
bunch of bumbling mistakes, and then all of a sudden you just watch one just plummet. And again, it didn't help too that Xbox availability at one point just plummeted too. Remember, Perry, I told you about that. Like said,
Yes,
like trying to
That
find
was
your
the first
console was
sign.
like
That was the
walking
first
into
sign, Noof, that
retail stores, and now you're at the point now you walk into a retail store and all I see is a handful of controllers and about 10 games, and you're like, that's your Xbox section? Like that's messed up, man. Like I'm telling
yeah,
you, that's the second part of the equation is they got to make good with retailers. Like despite Game Pass, they got to give an incentive to tell them to carry games. They don't have to carry 50,000 copies. But I remember when I bought Halo Infinite, I walked in and I pre-ordered my copy because about the physical, and I walked into my GameStop and got it. And I asked, I said, "Do you guys have tons of copies of this game here?" And I think the girl told me they had like a dozen. Halo 5 had about like hundreds of copies in the store. How do you
we
go
went to
from
the midnight
hundreds of
release.
copies
That
to
video's
like friggin'
online.
10? Like
crazy.
something's not right here, dude. Like
Yeah,
I know a lot of people went digital, but it didn't get that bad. And again, and if you think physical has no place, well, explain this massive sales success physically for Resident Evil Requiem. It's sold out on all the
yeah.
places. Trying to find a copy was near
Even
impossible.
on the Switch, the $90 edition on the Switch.
Yes. So you're
Well,
telling me that nobody cares? Bullshit. There is people that care, and
people care.
again,
People care.
yeah.
And people know all about Xbox. So the point is that they very well could go about this a couple of ways. And you know, even if they did do the whole thing where they, let's the most realistic way is that they're going to have uh the most realistic way that they're going to do. I gave you my scenario, but even so, they could still make this work, and that's by making Gears exclusive, and then just basically signaling here and there. And they also got to get off of day and date. They got to get off of trash Game Pass. I mean, you could the best thing you could do is just in June, just say we're gonna have another price drop to 19.99, but we're not doing game day and date. We'll do it at another time. We'll put the games sporadically or whatever, and then just have no rhyme or reason. And just have a decent service like that, like where you could put some games in after a while. They have enough studios where they could have a nice amount of content, but the day and date is it failed, and they've taken a big hit with the price. Even when they did that price hike, that was a huge problem. They lost a lot of people. They figured that they were going to lose a certain amount of people, but with the money that they could recoup it, it was another bad idea. And yeah, I think that they got to get off of that and then pragmatically go about exclusives. And another thing is that when they launched the RAG Ally, that thing was a disaster software wise. It was taking updates. People were like, "What is this?" You can't have that. I
No.
mean, if you're gonna have that too, you could have exclusives, but you could launch like that. You gotta have quality control. Holy cow, guys! Like, how do you like? Again, I took a lot of heat for saying Sarah didn't know what the hell she was doing, and Phil's checked out. But sure, looks like I was right. Like, how do you have those
Mhm.
releases like this? Like, things just didn't add up. Like, and
Yeah.
it looks like they got some momentum here. Asha has a lot to do, but the reality is that us being here, having this podcast means something, and they got to realize that them actually caring about fans, that or just caring about the brand itself. Stop thinking about PlayStation.
Absolutely.
You're not PlayStation. You know what I mean? You're not PlayStation. They shouldn't be every every element.
Mhm.
I think you were saying this pre-show, like every element, whether it be a car, whether it be whatever the human psyche wants to say, hey, we have something that you don't, or we have something that's better that you don't have.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. People draw emotional attachments to certain things, and they brand things in their mind about, like we always say, oh, it's a a piece of plastic. But the reality is that people have nostalgia. They're nostalgic. They're nostalgically like attached to a brand. They think of PlayStation. They think of God of War. You think of Xbox. You think of Halo. You think of Nintendo. You think of Mario.
Yep.
And there's no trying to people. They tried the open approach, this whole hey, it's just like we're going to think on the level of it's just a game, and there's none of that attachment to plastic. We're just, hey, our games go anywhere, and look where it got them. They're on the brink of never having hardware again,
And
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 because they let it fester.
and one thing they don't realize, that piece of plastic right here, right now, brought all of us together to talk about this because that's our
And we
passion
just
for the
want them
brand.
to care. We just want them to
Yep.
care like us.
Yep.
But you
We're
know,
not asking them, and I'm putting their feet to the fire. So
yep.
I'm doing it where
Yeah.
I think we'll all get our answers, and we're always going to stay friends. And that's
Yeah.
that's that's where it goes beyond the plastic.
Yeah.
And we have stayed friends even through this whole thing, but they got to do something. They got to signal to us that there's no more. Hey, you're gonna be we are Xbox, but you're not gonna actually put it like do what you're supposed to do, or do something for us.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they care, but they've just been caring about the wrong things, I think, for the longest time. And like I said, it doesn't take long, and you lose again your core audience, and your messaging is not clear, and there's a lot of speculation, a lot and lying. The lying to you, like whether
Yeah,
it was
it's off the
intentional or
charts.
it came out, but when you got guys that you look up to and respect, and for whatever reason they're lying to their audience to maybe try to save face or keep people from abandoning the brand, and then they turn around and do the exact like that also
Well,
wasn't good,
Noof, we're in
because
sales, so we
like I
caught that
said,
right away. We were like, "That's
you
bullshit."
know,
You can't.
because
There's
we respect these people. We've certainly put them on a pedestal, even though they didn't ask to be that way. But we respected them, and I'm not saying I don't respect them, but I mean, because obviously money talks, bullshit walks, and stuff. Good intentions a lot of times fall by the wayside when the boardroom gets involved, right? And I think that's the problem with Xbox. There's been way too many decisions made at the boardroom level and not made from the what really makes sense.
right.
Like again, it's all about a certain number, but numbers will come when you do right by the fans. It always happens. You make a good food, people buy it. You make a great game, people buy it. You make a great movie, people buy it. It's kind of like one of the guys said, I think that's from like one of the Marvel or somebody from Disney or whatever. They said something about how people were saying the moviegoers were just burned out with superhero fatigue. And I agree with the statement. I don't think it was superhero fatigue as opposed that we just got burned out with bad superhero movies. There was just so many of them so quickly, so soon. And again, if it's a good product, you build it, they will come, and it goes for anything. But again, you got to listen to your core fan base, figure out what they want first and foremost, and then you worry about the rest of it. But you take care of us, and the loyal guys, we'll take care of you, and the rest will just fall in place. Not every game is going to come out and be GTA 5 or 6 or whatever. Look, there's those anomalies in the industry, and that's the other crazy part. Xbox is now sitting on some of the biggest games in the universe with
Yes.
Minecraft and Call of Duty. And there's no way in hell, like, they should not be able to leverage this for the better. Like, this company now should be, technically speaking, turning over money hand over fist. But they haven't done that well either. By fault of their own or by fault of the commission that kind of went up against them because they thought Microsoft was going to start a monopoly. I don't know, but it should be just a runaway train here almost at some point.
And let's face it,
and they
Noof,
got
they
yeah,
have more games than Sony. They have the whole Activision
absolutely,
catalog from the 70s all the way up until now.
yeah,
And if they
exactly.
really wanted to go hardcore exclusive, they could literally have Minecraft, if they ever did Minecraft again, exclusive. They could have Call of Duty in 2033 or 2032 exclusive. They could have Elder Scrolls exclusive, Fallout exclusive.
Could you just
I mean,
imagine? Ooh,
but that's the thing, Doom exclusive. If they ever got to the point where they were with the Xbox, let's say that they got a 360, they got to that point again, and they were close, or they weren't, even if they were, 30 million consoles behind or 40 million consoles behind, it wouldn't be the end of the world because your software would be selling like crazy. People would just keep, they have
definitely.
potential. Yeah, you touched me. You have potential here, like to really do something special. And I just hope that they could see that. And I'm trying to drum it into their heads, but I really think that they need to get themselves and they need to get out of the perspective of, they have to look at this like they need to start over in the fact that they need to look at this like they started Xbox when they first got into it. Think about it. They had zero consoles sold, zero games out, well, aside from Flight Simulator, or whatever, and they got into Xbox, and they went in head first to PlayStation 2, and they did decent. Then in PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, they basically were winning the whole gen. Think about that.
Yep.
That's only a span of 6 years, 7 years. I think it was 6 years because of 2000. So if they did that in 6 years, they could literally be back in a position where they don't even have to be the number one console globally. They could actually be to the point where, they have the PC market because now they basically said if you want a PC and games, you got to game on the Helix, which is any PC guy will probably just end up going to get the Xbox because they'll have everything there and they'll bitch and moan, but they'll get it. And they'll force the market to them. And then the console side, they'll just be bleeding PlayStation out because PlayStation guys will just get sick of it because they'll want Doom, they'll want Minecraft 2, they'll
Yeah,
want, think about it. There is
yeah.
potential here where they could just completely
And
have a crazy, crazy setup. It's not out of the, I'm thinking boldly. I'm thinking like very, monumental. I'm not thinking
yeah.
like just getting by anymore.
Well, what's also funny here too, Tim, is they think that, oh, by putting our games everywhere, we're going to make exponentially more money. But look, that hasn't been the case because outside of Forza Horizon 5, has any of the Xbox games that have been come over on the PS5 platform done overly extremely well? No,
No.
they have not. And the PlayStation games was just announced. Did you see the numbers for all of the PlayStation games that finally came out on PC? And none of them exactly lit the world on fire on PC either. It's not like they
Yeah,
went out and sold an extra 20 million copies because they ended up on PC, which is the world's largest technically platform all around. This is what I'm saying. Like they thought this is like this. They could just put these games over there. If you put them on a big enough platform, it's going to automatically lead to a ton of sales. No, it does not. I always
yes,
said if a PlayStation fan really wanted an Xbox game, if they actually gave two shits about most of the games that have been on Xbox for the last 20, 30 years, they would have went out and bought an Xbox, but they refused to because again, that's not their style. They play on PlayStation and that's it. And all of our games are crap, you know. So
yeah,
like they've had now a chance to go buy. Did Gears of War Reloaded come out finally on PlayStation and sell 10 million copies? No, it did not.
nope,
And they could say Xbox didn't buy a whole lot of them either. Well, one, Xbox players were getting it through Game Pass, and two, we already had the game. We already bought how many copies of the Gears of War 1 to begin with, and then Gears of War
yeah,
Ultimate Edition a couple years back. I've had the game 3 different times now. Xbox 360, the Xbox Ultimate Edition, and Gears Reloaded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
like their numbers are just, it's like the Game Pass thing. It was easy to overestimate. They thought Game Pass was going to be just such a great value that everybody and their dog and cat would need Game Pass, and the rest was going to be history. And when it didn't materialize, that's what threw the big fork wrench into all their plans. Are like, oh crap, now how do we navigate
They
the
should have just
landscape
killed it
when
back
people
then when
aren't
it was
buying
still
this
$10,
stuff?
man.
Right, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, the price drop was a welcome thing. I mean, at
yeah,
least it's a start. It's a start in the right direction. We can't sit here and say, "Oh, well, it's not."
Yeah, but the minute
I don't think they intended to, but at least it's a start,
the
right?
minute that they saw game originally it was made to sell consoles, the minute they saw that wasn't working, they should have just deaded it, like ended it right there and been done. Because
yeah,
like you said, the wrench was thrown in, they pivoted, and it just got out of control. And it was great for me when
Yeah.
I was using it. I have until August, and then I'm done because I'm not going to renew. I
yeah.
don't pay monthly anyway. I stacked years ago. But
Just
there's
don't
just
buy
nothing.
games again. Game
Yeah,
Pass failed. Let's be honest. I
I've
thought
been
it was
buying games
cool.
anyway, but to me, Game Pass, I call it Indie Pass because there's nothing but crappy indie games on there. Is that fine for
They're
other
making,
people? Yeah.
yeah,
Me,
I like
I
the
don't care.
premise of Game Pass like from day one. I like the premise of it, but I knew where it was going to lead. This is why I was vocal about it, not because like in theory and on paper it sounded good, right? Like who wouldn't want it? But I was like, man, I can see how this is gonna get people from actually buying the big budget games. So that's gonna cut into sales, and most importantly, as a physical guy, this is really gonna screw me over because they're gonna start taking games out of retailers and we're going to see that drop. And that's exactly what happened. Nobody carries Xbox. They're like, well, why would they? Why would they want to carry an Xbox game in there when 90% of them are going to get it through Game Pass? Where's their incentive? Right? It's almost like you spit on them
true.
too.
Yeah.
No, you've always said that, and you were always right about that. But listen, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about. To be honest,
absolutely.
I
For a
think
long
they're
time.
gonna make. I think they're gonna make Gears exclusive, and then I do think that they're gonna go about this and really look at this. I can't see. I really can't see them. Even though I know that the game's been worked on. I know that they've put in work. It's just not like you just said. The Gears Reloaded. It's just not worth the optics. It's not worth making the game on another system where it plays better than your Xbox on PlayStation Pro. It's just for what it's worth. It's not worth it. It really isn't. It's much better to get people just think about it. If they said years exclusive, and then think, dude, me and you're gonna have a Ginger Prime moment, like guy screaming. That's gonna get people gonna get people going. That's what they need. They got, like I said, they got something going right now. Don't throw cold water on it, and they've done that in the past. But you know what? I'm not gonna say that she's Phil. I'm not gonna say that she's Don Matrick. Even though Matrick was different type of guy, he at least believed in exclusives. But you know, the reality is that they got something to work with, and that's 2 months ago. I
Absolutely.
said they had nothing, and I'm ready to buy back in and be a whale back. You know, I'm ready to play, play games and be a part of it. But I'm not doing it if they're not going to do the right thing by everyone in this room. That's the way I am. I'm making a firm stance. If you put PlayStation and you do some Indiana Jones shit, goodbye. And I'm
Yeah.
not. This is not going to be something where I make a big fuss. I'm just going to say, you know what? I bow out. You know, you guys just, Mike, and I'll never use a Microsoft product again. That's the way I'm back in. For me to be, listen, I was totally out down the street.
We
For
know.
me to be, for me to be like, doing this, that means something. That means that they could get me back. And I know I'm just one person, but the reality is that getting me back is something that'll be it might be something that like just that type of attitude me times a million or 5 million because you know what? Because there's a lot of people like that, maybe not publicly like me, but they just don't want to deal with freaking some stupid company putting everything on another platform and being a joke.
Yeah.
Basically a joke.
Especially,
That's the
especially one that's
reality.
especially a platform that's tried to bury you so many times. Unlike
I
Nintendo, which
know.
has been at least somewhat of a partner with Xbox, but PlayStation has tried to put like the bullet holes in Xbox
Yeah.
for so many years, right?
And if they were like, "Hey, listen, I could get down with this," if they were like, "Hey, you could have the Last of Us, one game for ours, one game for yours," and if
Mhm.
it was like that, and then I saw a lot of people bringing up 660 million revenue, which is all the games that they have. Okay, well, you have cost of development. Plus, you're not getting all that money. You're getting 70% of that because 30% of
Mhm.
the store they get. Plus, they get all the optics of having all the games. They get
Mhm.
all the optics of being able to have PlayStation games, Xbox games, the best Xbox games on console played. And that's all, they get all of that and they don't have to lift a finger.
Mhm.
So,
Right. Yeah.
I can never get behind that. I don't think there's anyone who really can say that that's a good idea. Yeah, you can point it out, but the reality is that that just doesn't work anyway. Show me where that's going on with Paramount Plus. Show me that. Well, somebody's like, well, it's media. It's the same thing. Netflix.
Xbox,
You
Xbox
know,
reminds me of our Canadian government. We keep giving them all our hard-earned money, and you keep sending it to the Ukraine.
it's crazy. I mean, it's just enough's enough. I'm positive. I think they're going to do the right thing. If I had a bet on it, I've heard, I've heard two different things. I've heard yes, they definitely, obviously we've heard, but there are people probably in that room that's saying, hey, well, we need to get our return on investment on this and that. But you know what? It's bigger than that. It's more of a brand thing. I think that this could signify their back. And the way you handle the games that they announce, you could go about that two ways. You can just pull them off, which what I would do, and announce it and make it a big party, or say this is the last games that you guys get. Just publicly say that. Say, we said that we were going to do it, but no longer. You have to. You can make a public statement. See, there's ways to do this. You could take things back, and you saw Call of Duty with the Call of Duty. They actually took that back, and that was supposedly going to be something that they thought was a horror show. It was the exact opposite. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, I got my." They didn't really care. So I think it's this type of thing where if you say, "Hey," first of all, if you say, "Hey, Gears is exclusive," that's going to be make a that's going to make the rounds.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Plus, you're going to
they need
make
to put their
everyone
foot down
happy.
on that too. They need to be like, this is exclusive. and it will only be on Xbox
Yes.
and
That's it.
ecosystem.
PC,
Yeah,
whatever.
because
Exactly.
you
You're
know the
gonna say
Sony guys
PC.
are gonna be like, "Oh, well, they said that last time, so I'm just gonna wait till next year." Like, you need to squash that, like,
No time.
right there.
No time for not for that.
Yeah,
I just
Yep.
I think there's a way to go about this pragmatically and realistically. You know, I mean, there is. You know, if it were me, if I was if I was Satya, and I
Mhm.
could talk to him, or if or I just took his job miraculously, which would never happen, but I would say, okay, guess what, guys, we're doing my exact plan, and you know, I know it's not that easy, shareholders and stuff, but I honestly think that that would work. I think in 6 years, 7 years, you'd be getting a ton of people on your platform. You'd also have the pre-built PC market. You'd have a huge PC market now on your console, and you'd have the Xbox console for the, you know, the Series X, like I explained with the redesign. Because listen, let's be honest, the Series X is a beast,
yeah,
and it's just a great console. And unfortunately, we came in thinking it was going to do something that it didn't do, and part of the reason was because PlayStation, you know, it had it had all the development on there first, so they weren't using all these things like, you know, these full RDNA 2.0 things like the I forgot some of the, you know, some of the technical things that they could have used because they would just develop it and port it to Xbox. So, you know, a lot of the custom things that they built on was built as if they were going to build on Xbox first, and it didn't come to fruition. But the reality is that the X could be a baseline for the next 10 years, easy. You know, especially with FRS and whatever you want to call it, the upscale technology that's coming out. Like, you know, you could basically run 1080p and it could upscale to 4K with the you know, the frame generation or whatever that is, and the FS. The technical. I forgot the name of it. I'm getting tired, but um, you know, the point is that I think you can get away with having the X, and then you also have the cloud infrastructure, which we don't even talk about, which is could be the best.
yeah,
It could be better than Nvidia, and you have all these games, so you could have also that revenue. Sony's not doing that. Yeah, they have, you know, they have their, you know, certain aspects of it, but you know, Xbox can have it where you release a game and and it's on cloud. So there's ways to do this, and they tried so many things. How about just do like the most simplest way with the most clearest, no confusion, you know, just make it one way. And I honestly think that that's the way it should be. But the reality is they probably can't do that, or they're not going to do that. So at least give us something. You got to give us something, one thing, and that's all I'm asking. Is simple. Just make years, just keep it off, and then work from there. You know, maybe take a game off of. You know, the Game Pass. I don't want day and date at this point. I don't even care.
yeah,
I'd pay for not. You know, because I just think it just hurt the console, and it takes away exclusives. And if that's the point, you're gonna take away something that the console has, that draws me to the console and makes me feel good about the console, then I don't want anything to do with it if it's going to draw away from that. And that's what it's doing, basically. They didn't get the numbers. The failed experiment. They tried. Oh well, you could pivot, and you could still have like PSN, which is a great
Mhm.
service. You could have a better PSN, and it'd be the same price, and you can have exclusives. That's my way.
yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
I like it.
speaking of the console, before you leave, before we end the show, um, the Xbox bundle went up on Best Buy from Mario 64, posted earlier tonight.
Mm.
So it shows the Forza Horizon bundle for $659.97. So for an extra $10 of the current Xbox price, you get the controller, the Forza controller, and the Forza disc
Damn.
bundled with the console with the regular controllers. So 2 controllers and a Forza game. However,
That's pretty good.
That is a good deal.
Want to do it now? Go get it. I'm going to tell you now. Stop waiting around. Buy yourself an Xbox. Xbox.
I would totally do that, Arnold, but I have to say something. There's a little caveat here.
You got to get Game Pass.
No, a good caveat. On the right-hand side, it shows the package includes, aka the bundle, includes a perceived value of $499 for the Xbox Series X. So somebody was kind of right here in the room.
Yes,
Look at
sir.
my favorite hashtag. Hashtag Timdog was right.
Well, I want I see some other people saying that they listen. There's always going to be that. I do think that might signal something, and that's why I say we have to watch this. In the next 2 weeks, they're gonna
Yep.
they're gonna have something. If they're talking about the console and they're signaling at it, um, you know, it's easy to do this. You just do it for a month up to June 7th. Start right. That's when I think that they might start this.
Right.
And we have to watch that, and we'll talk about it next show.
Yeah.
We'll update, but yeah, I think there's something going on there for sure.
I think so, because you said $499 about a week or two ago, and magically,
Yeah, I see that.
this is revalued at $499. Now, granted,
So,
when you add these together, the game and the extra controller, it comes out to the $659. But again, that is the perceived value from Best Buy.
that's a crazy bundle.
That's
That's a great bundle.
if it came with the headset, I would totally pick this up.
And I also love the fact that they're also putting the game in. I don't remember the last time that they bundled something like that. Like, so
Wasn't I just talking about that the other day?
And it's a physical.
yeah,
It's not even a digital. It's a physical.
that's
good.
pretty cool. That's a good catch, man. Good.
Wow.
I remember you caught the I remember
I said that the other day. I was literally saying to the boys, I said, remember we
did.
have some bundles for a long time. Maybe we should get some games packed in or something.
If they made that
I want
console look like that
custom
controller,
consoles,
forget
too.
about it. I'd be all over that.
Well, that's another thing too. If they could do exclusives too, also, and they can get off of this Game Pass shit, they can have custom consoles again, man.
Yeah.
I loved custom consoles.
I got
It's
two of the
something
Halo ones.
awesome. We haven't. What was the last one that was done? Gears. I think Gears 5 was the last.
The 2
custom
terabyte,
console.
if you even count that one.
Yeah, it's got
space
the dots all
Oh,
over
that
it.
one sucked. Yeah, I want like a game one though. And that was I think Gears. When did Gears 5 come out?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Is that the last console that they've had?
Yeah.
No,
the
they had the
Halo Infinite
Cyberpunk.
one, I
the
guess.
the
And that was
Cyberpunk
funny,
was
too,
April
because
2020. Remember that one?
When the Series X came out in particular, Series X and the S for that matter, but the Series X, remember we all said kind of with the design is, oh my God, this thing just lends itself to like custom consoles perfectly.
Yeah, and then they made those condoms that you wrapped around it, those freaking metallic
The
skins.
response
Yeah.
wraps.
And those didn't even like end up doing well.
Well,
They could sell a console that's custom for $50 more. People don't care.
I'll buy it.
People like you, like game complainers, like you buy 5 of them.
Right.
It just has a value. You know what I mean? It looks different.
Dude, when they released the GameStop only had it, the blue Xbox One S. It came with Gears 4. I bought 5 of those fucking things in a week. Because I was like, I have all the other ones, the white ones. I'm gonna get rid of those. I'm just gonna get rid of all the blue ones. So I went with Frank and I bought them. And he thought it was nuts because they were $400 a pop.
And this is something like I think like Sony is like sleepwalking now because they've become so lazy because Xbox made it so easy. Like you're starting to see, but when PlayStation really was hauling ass, like being amazing, they had that Batman custom console. I gotta tell you,
I just sold that thing.
Beautiful. That thing.
I didn't own it. It came into the shop.
But
someone traded it.
But again, that's. They're gonna say, I don't know. I don't know how the younger generation would want that, but I mean, I think they would want it. Like I think, like everyone likes cool looking stuff. That Batman console was amazing. I think even PlayStation guys would agree. And they haven't gotten they used to always get custom consoles. What was the last one that they've had? Do you know?
Oh, right here.
I'm trying to think. God of War?
No, these crappy plates here. These
They just sell plates.
they sell
now.
plates
no,
now.
they just did a Ghost of Yotei one.
Oh yeah, but
Right,
it looks
right.
like piss.
Oh
Kind
yeah,
of
that was
regular,
nice.
like
It
the
looks like
tree or
someone peed
whatever
all over
on it.
that thing, man.
Yeah.
It's weird looking.
Yeah, but you know what? The point is that they still doing it. I think Xbox got to
Yeah.
get back to that too, man.
Yeah, for
Xbox
sure.
has just been focused on the controllers. I mean, they made like shit ton of colored controllers. So even Sony's starting to copy that lead too. Like
I have a
like,
Xbox
last time we hadn't so much.
controller
I'm gonna- you know
museum
what I'm gonna do?
downstairs.
There was that, and maybe we'll do it next show. I don't know if we could put it up there, but or at least we could watch it or pre-watch it. I want you to watch this. I remember I started screaming at like Larry or something. I'm like, what is this shit? I watched Sarah. This was her last interview, and she basically had this guy, and they were like acting like that everyone doesn't like consoles, like totally opposite of what Xbox is doing now. It infuriated me. I'm gonna send it. You know what? We got to make a group chat, and
Yeah.
and I'll send it to you. I'm gonna go look for it now, just to laugh at it. 'cause
I can
was
put it in
furious.
OBS and play it next week. No problem. Just get me the link and
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
Well, that's a great idea. We'll just laugh about it. It's so bad. It's so bad and infuriating.
We probably
Um,
played one of those like last year or something. Because
Well, I think
we made fun of
this was
that.
this year.
Oh, this year.
So this was, yeah, it was this year. It was our last one. I think it was a guy named Tim. I gotta find it. I'm gonna go find it. It's gonna be.
Were they
hard.
trying to make fun of you too? I mean, what's going on?
No. It's just infuriating that like you could tell like the questions were basically they were given to him or whatever. It wasn't him asking normal questions. It was like I felt like it was a setup. We'll watch it. It'll be a fun thing. We'll maybe go through it and laugh about it. Like just the mindset of what they were trying to pull. I remember being absolutely furious.
Well, we
just
thought
because it was just so fake.
that her goal was to tank the console. And I mean,
I don't know
look,
what the goal was.
look at these numbers. I mean, she pretty much succeeded in that.
Yeah, well, I remember the time when she was on that panel. I don't know if you guys remember, and she's like, "You guys don't game on consoles, right?"
Yeah. What
Right?
the
Like,
hell was that?
oh,
You
that
know,
was
it's
bad.
funny. She said that, and I'm sitting here with 16 of those freaking things in my house, and I'm throwing my hands up like, lady, I'm the only one buying freaking consoles around here for your stupid company. And you're saying who
Yeah,
games on
and-
console? Like, come on. Like, what the hell is that all about?
Yeah, and Sony has 150 million people
And Nintendo.
buying consoles, and Nintendo. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
And you know what?
I mean, and then you had people in the community. I hate to say it, they were defending that, and they were saying, "Yeah, look at that." Like, come on, guys.
Exclusives are toxic. They're
And
antiquated.
when you have guests over to your house, right, or you have friends or their kids, and everybody comes to your house, when they come in and they see a console sitting under a TV, can you not tell me that's not way cooler than having to just boot up some library or off some
Or an
cloud
app
device
on your
or-
stupid
you know what I
TV.
mean? That's why people still get fascinated when they walk into a retro store like Perry's and you see all these consoles that they either once owned or consoles they would have loved to have. And the fact that the Neo Geo is even coming out and already off to a great
And guess what, Noof?
pre-sales number.
This
Like, what
guy
the
got a
hell?
Neo Geo, and I got a Mister just came in the mail today, by the way.
Damn, see what I'm saying? So the love is there. It's there for this stuff. The demand can still be there. It's just how you go about it. It's just do it the right way.
All right, guys. I think we did a good job tonight.
Oh,
Absolutely.
hell yeah.
Always good job. And talk tomorrow and set up a chat. And I got to read these emails, but like I said, I'm going to probably extend it out just because I want to do it right. I want to also every email will be separated, so it's not going to just be like I'm going to separate it somehow, either with folders or something. But I want to try to be a little bit creative with that. So I want to, I'm going to put a little bit of money into it. Nothing too much, but at least to make it look presentable. It's not going to look like a piece of shit.
Well, thank you for handling all that, because listen, if they do listen,
The
then
least I could do.
yeah, if they do listen to these letters, you were the man that helped save this brand. I mean, let's face it.
You know what? It really is. It's not about me, and I appreciate you that, but it really isn't. It's just about us.
Yeah.
It's more of a thing. Like it's a respect thing. Like respect people. Like that's basically it. Just respect people. And
Remember, guys, it only took one guy with William Wallace to start the revolution for Scotland.
What?
but I mean, it's just really a respect thing for me. And I like the fact that I like when I like when people be happy. I think it would be nice. I think it would be a good thing. And we're not asking for the world, but I do think that honestly, I feel like they just need to they need to be presented with something that if they're going to make the wrong decision in in my opinion, they're gonna have to live with it
Yeah.
because and believe me, they'll have to live with it. But this is not this. I'm just asking for gears to be I think it's a lot different than another. Like if this was, let's say, Elder Scrolls, I could understand them not making that exclusive. Like it was other game, it was on other PlayStations. It's a continuation of a series. I can understand that. That's maybe a little bit of a crazier ask, but this is something where you have an Xbox base and you have a way of getting people behind you to rally behind you. You're making a difference. You're making changes. Articles will be written. People will be excited. If you put the games on PlayStation, you're just gonna have people spinning again, and
Yeah.
it's just people are gonna be like, they're just gonna throw up their hands. Like everyone in this room is just gonna be like, ah, whatever. It's just
Yeah.
disappointment.
For real.
And we've been disappointed enough for too long that it's on them now. It's not on us. We're good. We're good
Absolutely.
fans.
We did our part.
Oh.
We can't say we haven't. We haven't told you.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that honestly, I feel that they're going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and that's all.
let's just hope they get more right than they get wrong at this point. I mean, like I said,
Right.
essentially, you can't get a whole lot worse. So, you just start going because the numbers don't lie, man. The numbers are horrible. And that's with expanding out to other brands.
Yeah.
So, so there you go. Your numbers aren't what you thought, even though you put all your shit in every basket. Well, let me guess, the people that own those baskets don't care about your shit. So go back to the people that care about what you do.
Yeah.
100%. All right, guys. Been fun.
All right, buddy.
All righty.